Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of 3 Point Weekly. We got a couple of weeks of NBA action to talk about, and most notably, we got a team to talk about that we were critical of a few weeks ago in the LA Clippers, as they have seemingly very much figured it out over the last couple of weeks as they've won their last 8 games. We also have John Morant returning to talk about and whether that can be enough for the Grizzlies to finally turn the corner, as Josh showed that he is not taking time to adjust from his return from his suspension. We're going to talk about the Cavs and what they're going to do moving forward with their injuries to Darius Garland, who seemingly has the most unlucky luck with face injuries in league history, and Evan Mobley picking up an injury, and how that goes for their future the rest of the year. We got a lot of other fun predictions and topics to discuss now that we're a little bit past the quarterway point with how some teams will finish out the year with some all-star predictions, with some award predictions. So we'll get into all of that later, but we will start with those Los Angeles Clippers. But before we do, as you enjoy the stream here tonight, be sure to hit that like button, be sure to subscribe, and do leave your thoughts in the chat throughout, as we do appreciate all of your continued support and engagement. But that being said, it's time to talk about the Clippers. We know that we were questioning how this was going to fit a few weeks ago, and they were very much in a bit of a downward spiral at that point. They were on a pretty significant losing streak, and it looked like the James Harden edition was going to make things a little bit interesting as far as how the pieces were going to fit. Those questions have not all fully been answered, but an 8-game winning streak is going to do a pretty good job at answering a lot of those questions and putting away a lot of doubts. I'll let you start, Reek, as the James Harden fan of the pod. What have you seen from this Clippers team in the last few weeks, and how do you think that fares for them going forward the rest of the year?
I even think like the last episode, we were kind of still a little on the fence. Like that was a couple weeks ago. We were still like, they would have won a couple in a row, but we are still kind of iffy on them. But I think the most important part is they found kind of their identity as a team. That subtle just adjustment with bringing Westbrook off the bench, letting Harden run the show, not playing those guys together as much, has really helped the offense. And even like James Harden hasn't had to have the ball in his hands as much, but he's still like running good two-man action with Kawhi, who I know we're going to talk about how incredible he's been playing over the last couple of weeks. Paul George is starting to find his, rhythm playing alongside another ball dominant guy in James Harden. And they're just figuring it out. Like, I think they're like top 12 in both offense and defense during this stretch. So that's like high level type stuff that I think will balance out as time goes. Because I think their offense is right now, I think 7th, and their defense is like 11th or something around there, which I think this team can, even ramp it up a little more defensively. Once Harden gets a little more comfortable, once Plumlee's back in rotation and stuff like that. And I think they'll be able to figure that out. But, I give a lot of credit to Ty Lue, who was the guy who we had not really questions about, but we said he has a lot on his plate with this addition. But he's somebody that's always been able to figure it out. Really, no matter what group he's had in LA, he's found a way to make this team competitive. And you got to give him credit again here because he's looks like he's done it once again. I mean, like you said, there's still some questions that they got to be able to figure out. But an 8-game win streak is an 8-game win streak in the NBA. It's not easy to win games in a row like that. And especially the way that it looked when this edition first happened, they couldn't get a win in like the first 5 or 6 games. Like they were really struggling. But I feel like they're starting to figure themselves out. The offense is stepping up big time. And I think they'll start to balance out more as just they get more comfortable playing together.
Yeah, honestly, they've made us look a little bit silly. I mean, at the end of the day, good things were going to take time. You bring in a player like James Harden, who came in and called himself a system. That system's going to take a minute to implement. So the fact that they weren't great right away, it makes sense. Now, were we a little bit maybe overly critical because, they bought him even extra, maybe went a little bit of name chasing, and it kind of seemed to like throw the dynamic off with Russ. And so we were like, oh, you just figured out how to use Russ in an effective way, and now you're bringing in this thing that kind of throws that off balance. And like Reek was talking about, him deciding to come off the bench and just make that decision for himself, that really seemed to start changing things for them. And it's really contributed to successful basketball. I mean, when you're playing good on both sides of the floor, that's always a recipe for success. Like you said, top 10 in both offense and defense. That shows, if one's not working out to the best one day, the other side of the ball can still get the job done. Kawhi, he's shown that he can still, if he wants to, he's still that defensive guy. I know some people kind of question, is he still to that level? But, I mean, you look at right now they're playing the Mavericks, and he's shutting down Luka pretty well. So it's like having a guy like that on your roster is definitely going to do good things for you. The only things that are a bit concerning for me still is that with this team, it's still a bit ISO heavy, like a little bit too much for my liking, which kind of makes sense when you have Paul George, Kawhi, Harden, like pretty ISO heavy players. But those ISO heavy offenses, you do usually have seasons come postseason. So hopefully Tyronn Lue can cook something up to kind of make that work in the long stretch, especially knowing the playoff track records of some of these players. But with all that said, they've definitely figured it out as far as the regular season goes. Like, I think this team is really set to be a strong playoff push like type team, like above the play-in, top 6 seed level team. I think they'll be that at the end of the season. I think they're just going to consistently stay winning. And even once they get to the playoffs, like Tyronn Lue is definitely an above average coach in this league. For whatever you want to say about him, like he knows how to get shit done. So when they get to the postseason, I hope that he can kind of allow them to maximize their potential, because it's clear they have a lot, but they have a long time until they get there. And I think until about April, they're just going to keep this train rolling.
Yeah, I mean, they've put a lot of the right pieces in the right places over the last couple of weeks. I'm glad you mentioned Russ coming off the bench, Reek, because that was seemingly something that I just thought had to happen as soon as the Harden trade did finally finalize, and that has seemingly been the right move for their starting lineup and for Russ being more productive as well. I mean, Harden and Russ, especially at this point in time in their careers, I mean, evidently they have history starting together, but at this point in time, it makes more sense, especially when you consider Kawhi still needing to get his looks, PG still needing to get his looks. That seemed like the logical decision, and good on Ty Lue and the staff to make that decision pretty early on. They didn't carry that too far into things, and like you guys mentioned, they've just been cooking over the last few weeks per cleaning the glass. Now, the last 2 weeks, they are first in the league in offense by an absurd rate, like 6 points above the Bucks, and they're fifth in defense. So they've been playing extremely well. We've mentioned Kawhi. Kawhi has been playing great. Russ looks more comfortable off the bench. Norm continues to do his thing. An unsung hero who looked a little bit lost in the shuffle when they started and has been a lot better the last couple of weeks as well has been Zubac, who's looked a lot more comfortable. His game with Harden has looked better. He's just looked a lot more comfortable in the offense and on the defensive end now that they've started to get things a little bit more settled. So I like a lot of what they got going on. They got enough high-quality depth and Russ and Norm off the bench that those two guys, even without a great solidified eighth guy off the bench or a third guy, eighth man in the rotation, they're fine. I mean, they got two great bench pieces. Another interesting thing to note, limited possessions, but the Harden, Norm Powell, PG, Kawhi, Zubac lineups, by far the most productive lineup in basketball this year. Their differential from offensive rating to defensive rating is plus 50. The next best lineup is plus 39, which is another Clippers lineup, but that was with Covington still in town. Then after that, it's plus 33 with the 76ers lineup of Maxey, Melton, Tobias, Batum, and Joel Embiid. Small sample size, only 105 possessions with that lineup, but that's a potent, very potent top five with Harden, Norm, PG, Kawhi, and Zubac. So a lot to like with the Clippers. We'll see how that pans out beyond this 8-game winning streak. Biggest thing, knock on wood, they're still healthy. Can we continue to buy in on that? I don't know. It's kind of the history of some of these guys, especially with Kawhi and PG, that is likely to change. Hopefully that's not the case, but knock on wood for them. They've played 26 and 25 games respectively throughout the start of the season. So that continues to be the case. That's always been the biggest hurdle for them, regardless of who else is on the roster. If those two are healthy, they're good. So I feel pretty good about them going forward. And shout out to Mo tuning in.
Yeah, going off off that lineup specifically, just because you're mentioning that, like looking at the shooting on this team, they don't take a ton overall, like around average to below average as far as like attempts. But like percentage wise, they are shooting the shit out of the ball, like third in the league in 3-point percentage. And that lineup you're talking about, like Kawhi's at 44% from three this season. Harden's at 44% from three this season, both on like 5 to 6 attempts. Powell's at 45% from three this season. It's like that lineup specifically, even with PG at like 39, like those guys, plus obviously Zubac isn't taking any attempts out there, but when they're shooting those shots, they're making them. And that's a dangerous offense because those guys, at least like Kawhi and PG have really steady mid-range games. James Harden can probably do it a little bit, not really his game, but he has the floater and some of the in-between stuff. And then obviously Zubac is more for the rim, and Powell's a bit like he's kind of an all-arounder. But that just shows like those guys are so efficient and they can play defense, especially when James Harden's putting in that effort. Like, I'm really glad you brought up that lineup because just looking at the stats of this team, it's like Terrence Mann and Russ don't really provide that same spacing. So when they have those 5 guys in specifically that you mentioned, like that's damn near a Warriors death lineup right there. Crazy on both sides.
To the shooting point, like I think Harden shooting around 50% on catch and shoot threes, which is like catch and shoot threes, and James Harden just doesn't go in the same sense, but he's kind of embracing that part of his game. Kawhi shooting a high percentage on catch and shoot threes, like that stuff can translate. I can see those guys because they are such effective scorers. I can see that translating, and it's just a good sign that guys are being able to adjust. Like we saw Kawhi kind of like feeling things out when the Harden trade first happened. And then I think he just realized, like, I got to be the guy. Like, I'm playing every night. I got to still be the guy for this team to really go. And he's embracing that role. Same thing with, like, Russ coming off the bench. Like, guys are kind of buying in. And I think we talk about this a lot. I know Gabe brings it up a ton. Like, trades in season don't usually pan out very well. It's great that they made this trade so early in the season because they had that time to kind of, like, be bad and trying to figure stuff out. So now it's to the point where we've seen how good they can play in the stretch, and now it's just about fine-tuning the rest of the things, like who's going to be our guys off the bench that we can consistently rely on once it comes postseason time, stuff like that. Paul George can miss a couple games like how he has the last couple nights, and they're fine because they're figuring stuff out. Amir Coffey can come in and give them okay minutes. They're just kind of fine-tuning some things while still playing really damn good basketball.
Yeah, I'm more so just you can go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think even from a bench standpoint, like they're still pretty solidified. I mean, we know what Russ is going to do. We know what Norm's going to do. Daniel Tyson has come in and given them some amount of minutes. Like you mentioned, Amir Coffey can give you something. Mason Plumlee's still got to come back from injury as well. So that's presumably your backup big once he's back. So there's a lot of quality there, and they already have their roles pretty well defined considering the amount of turnover they have had in their depth, with a lot of that depth being sent to Philly. So considering where they're at, I think they're in a pretty good spot there.
Yeah, I really, like I was saying before, the one thing that I just hope they can continue to improve on is that ball movement. Like this kind of seems like a team who's probably more going to play make by committee as opposed to just running through one guy. We know like James Harden can do it, Russ can do it, but on this team right now, like they're bottom 10 in the league in assists, and with more like time with Harden as opposed to without Harden, that should go up a little bit. But just overall, for like as many guys who have playmaking chops, like Kawhi, we know has some, PG has some, even if they're not primary guys. If they can just continue to just get an actual system in place for that, just to get the ball spread around and just keep things flowing, I think that could just take them to the next level. Because we know where they're at right now. You can play ISO ball and be just fine because your isolation guys are some of the best in the world. But it would just be a little bit more consistent, I think, in the long term if they could find a way to just put more flow in there.
I think finding a balance will be definitely good, but I'm to the point with like this core group of guys where not every team has like this level of shot creation, especially like on the wings and even from the guard spot with Harden, that when we get to postseason time, like we know Kawhi Leonard, he's just that guy when he has the basketball in his hands. He's gonna create for himself. He might create for others too. So it's definitely a good thing that they do have that. But I do agree, Gabe, like just finding like some semblance of balance. Like you don't gotta be like the San Antonio Spurs from like the early 2010s. You don't gotta be that kind of level of ball movement, playmaking and stuff, but just finding a healthy balance and then letting your guys cook when the time is necessary. You just can't be as heavy ISO like throughout the season, especially when we get to the playoffs. But it's good that they do have multiple guys that can just go out and like create offense for themselves and for others too.
Yeah, they're in a spot where they have a ton of guys who can create. So like, ball movement, ideally it improves, but hey, if they continue scoring and the guys are hitting, they get the ball in the right hands and the right matchups and the right mismatches on any given night, it's not a primary concern. It doesn't really have to be a primary focus for these guys. So now when they start to get in a rut, if they're really struggling, can they revert to that? That's really the biggest question, is like, on a night where they need it, can they do it? Now, those nights are probably far and few between Harden, between Kawhi, between PG. One of those guys can probably get them through on most nights, but just having it in their back pocket if they need to for a quarter, for a half, for a game on occasion, can they have that? That's probably the biggest thing. But otherwise, if they're 20th, middle of the pack in assists, they're probably okay. It's like the Trae Young argument with his points per possession with getting fouled. It's like, if you know Trae Young can get to the free throw line on every possession, let him do it. It's a good offense. It's one of the most efficient offenses you can have. So same with this Clippers team. While these guys are cooking in isolation, if they're doing their thing, you don't have to question it. It might not be pretty. It might not be good ball movement, but hey, if it's getting you buckets, it's getting you buckets.
Thanks.
We got to talk about these Grizzlies, though.
We do got to talk about these Grizzlies.
These
Did
Grizzlies.
y'all get to watch the game last night?
I watched a bit of it back today. I did not get to watch it last night. I was out at the work function, but we definitely had to tune in because I saw a 34-6-8 from John his first game back while everyone else is in midseason form. That's impressive.
I watched like mid-third to throughout the whole fourth quarter, and it was so funny because Taylor Jenkins said before the game, like, we don't want to play Ja too much, kind of let him like get his feet wet and stuff. But then it's like they got into the deep part of the game, and it's like, man, we've lost like 3 games just like this recently with guys having 40-point games. Like Jaren Jackson had like 2 40 balls that they lost close games, and it's like Ja was starting to like cook a little bit, even though he was gassed. And he just left him out there, let him rock, and he made some big plays down the stretch. Obviously, the game winner, but he made a lot of just like plays getting downhill, just creating offense for himself and for others. And it's good to see him back because it's like we know this is his first game back. Obviously, there was some rust because you missed 25 games to start the year. There's going to be some rust. You're going to be out of shape, just out of game shape. But a lot that they can build off of, and they're in a pretty steep hole. Like there's 12 games under 500, but getting a guy of this magnitude back, somebody that we deem to be like a top 20-ish player in this league, that is something that can maybe just help jumpstart them, and maybe they can just go on a little bit of a run here because I think it's definitely possible getting a guy like Ja back. And, he was great last night, especially in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, I think he's definitely going to make them a lot better. I haven't got to watch the game from last night, so I'm not sure how much different they look just from as far as actual tape standpoint. But with this team, there's still just like some glaring weaknesses that I'm not sure Ja fixes. Now, what he definitely does fix is their offense is dead last in the league. So, like, having an offensive engine like that should be a massive difference. Like, it's still probably not going to look great when the end of season stats come out. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if their offense finishes like still below average just because they've played this many games without him. But even if they could jump up to like low 20s, like if they finish as like the 22nd, 21st offense, that shows they got a lot better after Ja came back, right? But 2 things with them still is like, the shooting on the team isn't great, and while Ja can knock down a shot, like he's definitely not known for being like an amazing shooter. And then also we know there's this huge rebounding issue. And Ja, while he can be a triple-double threat as like on any night, getting a point guard back usually isn't going to fix your overwhelming rebounding problems. So there's still definitely some pretty big flaws here. But I do think that Ja, just being as explosive as he is and as dynamic as he is, gives them a chance on any given night. And so this team's going to get consistently better. I just don't know how much better. And so when we're talking about them making the play-in, at this point, looking at the standings, it's probably like taking out Golden State, taking out Houston. Those are kind of the teams out there. And it's like Golden State's actually on the outside looking in right now. So
yeah,
I think you could say, do they pass up Utah? Probably, because Utah is just going to stay who they are, and Memphis just got a huge boost. But then, like, 10 is Phoenix. Do we really think that Memphis got better than Phoenix all of a sudden? As shaky as Phoenix is, just those top couple guys there are so good. LA, like, they can be great on any given night. We saw they won the in-season tournament. You know, people put varying degrees of weight on that, but that shows some sort of semblance of this team is good. And then the next two teams after that is Houston and New Orleans, who New Orleans looks like they look good. So, like, who comes? The easy answer is Houston, but I'm thinking if Houston comes out, Golden State's in.
Yeah.
So is Memphis better than two of those guys now? And will they be able to, like, they're
12 games under. They're in the steep.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 12 games under, like, what would they even have to finish as to go 500? They're finishing what, like 21, and they'd have 21 losses left. So however many, 34 and 21, I think.
They're at 19 losses right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me do my math.
So they need 22 losses, 34 and 22.
Yeah, 34, 22. Yeah.
Yeah, which, like, for a past couple of years Grizzlies team that's healthy, sure.
They can do that.
But without Steven Adams, Brandon Clark,
with no rebounding?
A little bit more questionable.
With shaky shooting, bro, because if they're, like, losing the rebounding battle and not getting second chance points, they're also not knocking down threes. Like, Ja getting downhill is great, but Ja getting downhill is, like, only 2 points. So if they, like, start to face a deficit and then they're giving up second chance points,
those shooters, and I say this very lightly, shooters, they'll be getting a lot more easier, cleaner looks with somebody like Ja putting pressure on the rim.
That is true.
They're still not going to be, like, lights out. But to your point about, like, the dead last offense, the good news is during this time, as bad as they have been, the defense has been solid. Like, Jaren Jackson holds it down on the defensive side of the floor. Like, that's something that cannot be your statement, Gabe. It still runs true. Like, Jaren Jackson on the defensive side of the floor can hold down like a top 10-ish defense, like, by himself.
I think they are top 10. I think they might be like 8 or 9 right now.
They've been, like, good on that end of the floor. So getting Ja back, that's your engine. That's gonna help a lot. It's gonna take pressure off of Desmond Bane, who has, been really good to start the season. Jaren Jackson stepped up his offensive game, especially over, like, the last couple of weeks. It's gonna take pressure off of those guys. And look, it's an uphill battle. But, I mean, getting your guy back, I mean, they could have been a lot worse. I mean, the way that they started this season, I'm like, getting up to 6 wins was damn near kind of impressive the way that they started. So getting Ja back, it's an uphill battle. I'm not saying they're going to do it, but it gives them a chance. It gives them the slightest chance, the last hope that they have to make something out of this season. We'll see if they have any room to make any type of moves, like once we get the trade deadline and stuff. But, it's going to be tough, but getting Ja back is a very good start. And if he's coming out playing almost elite level basketball right out the gate, that gives them a chance to try and make some type of noise and get into the play.
Yeah, I think they definitely have a chance. I mean, like you guys alluded to, Bane now being to go back to being a number 2 is going to be very nice. And having that creation, that playmaking from Ja is going to open up a lot of things for this offense. Jaren hopefully gets to put even more of his effort back on the defensive end again, because he has helped them be a top 10 defensive team this year. He's still been very good on that end, but he hasn't been quite as good as he was last year. And that's understandable. He's been the number 2 on offense this year, part of which has been very pretty and part of which has been very ugly. It's been a bit of a hot and cold season for him offensively this year in that increased role. But now he's the third guy again on O. He can focus a little bit more on the defensive end. And another thing to note is that Marcus Smart hasn't played for this team in a month. Bring him back on the court in the next week or two. He should be back soon. Jaren now gets to key in on the defensive end again a little bit more. That defense should be really good. Again, like you said, Gabe, it's just the rebounding still. And that's just going to be an issue all year. But the defense should be good enough, and the offense is now going to be a lot better, that I think they can at least tread water and can start to make up a little bit of ground. They're probably just going to have to hope on a team really getting destroyed by injuries to be able to sneak in. Their deficit is tough. They're 6.5 games out of the play-in right now. And like you guys said, are they going to catch the Suns or the Warriors, those teams that are on the brink right now? Probably not. I mean, as much as the Warriors haven't been great this year, I still expect them to be better than they have been. And the Suns have played some very good basketball, and again, just haven't been able to stay healthy, specifically with Bradley Beal. So hopefully that's something that they can turn around and continue to play a little bit better basketball. I mean, ever since Devin Booker came back from his injury earlier in the year, they've been generally speaking better outside of the last few games. So it's going to be tough. I think they're going to be in the conversation. They'll definitely be a lot better than they've been the last 25 games previous to job. But is that enough? I don't know. If Brandon Clark's coming back in a few weeks, great. But he's like at best 2 to 3 months away, if at all, this year. So I think they're in a tough spot. They'll probably play 500 basketball the rest of the year, but that probably isn't enough from where they're at right now.
The last thing about Ja's return too, just real quick, is I hope that they can get the fans back invested. I know his return game was on the road, but by all means, like every indication of like people who like go to the stadium and everything is that it's been kind of dead in there this season. We know that's usually like a super strong, like passionate fan base, and they're like 1-11 at home this year. Like they actually travel pretty okay, but this team at home is like they ain't got no support. So I hope they can get that crowd bought back in, and I hope that the return of Ja can kind of bring that like energy back, because that could honestly that might be a bit underrated in terms of like helping them out.
I think it will. I mean, who wants to see like the worst offensive team in basketball lose a bunch of games at home? Like, nobody really wants to see that. I think Mark Spears reported it. I think Brandon Clark, they're targeting around All-Star break for him to return, which that is quite some time away. That's a couple months away, but that would be a nice boost for them to have in that front court. Even though it might take him a little bit of time to get ramped up and stuff, but that would be good to get him back. But they got a chance, man. I mean, 6.5 games out, 12 games under 500. We've seen crazy things happen in the NBA. I'll just say that much. We've seen crazy things happen. But Devin, I know you will enjoy this. One thing that stuck out to me in last night's game was Vince Williams and him on the defensive side of the floor. He played a really good game, especially on Brandon Ingram late in the game. He had some really good possessions defensively and really helped them win that game. Just somebody that definitely got overshadowed with the return of Ja, but he played a really nice game last night. So, which is something that they kind of need on that wing, because it's still like kind of musical chairs in the small forward position on that team. So, maybe he can be somebody that can step up, be that defensive guy in the wing that can just help bring some stability to that position.
Yeah, that's definitely a positive for them, because like you say, I mean, Roddy's been okay at times. Zaire still hasn't really done what you would have wanted. Laravia hasn't really panned out at any point yet. Even Konchar's been in and out of the rotation at points. Nor is he a guy relying on the defensive end. So if they can at least have one of those guys on the wing, and maybe it is him who steps up, then that's just going to help them really start to put it all together on the defensive end with Jaren, with Smart, and hopefully really just capitalize on that end, because that's what they're going to have to lean into if they're going to make a run this year. The offense is going to be better, but they're going to have to be like a top 5, top 3 defensive unit if they're going to will their way back into this.
It's a steep hill to climb, but hey,
maybe they can go on that. Remember that Miami team in like 2017, that crazy run? Maybe they can channel some of that. They have a better top player, really like top 2-3 players than that Miami Heat team had. Like that was like a Goran Dragic team, like rookie Bam, I think, or something like that. Like that was.
Philly Cheese was the best leader. He was the real leader of that team. I think that was 16-17. So I don't think they had Bam, because I think Bam was 17 draft.
That was still Hassan Whiteside was on that team. Like
that team, I think the starting lineup was literally like it was like Dragic, Josh Richardson, like Philly Cheese. Udon couldn't have been starting. Who was the starting 4 on that team? I don't even know. It might have been Justice Winslow still.
It might have been. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not sure who it would have been that year.
That was a fun team.
That was only like year 2 of Justice Winslow. It might have been James Johnson though, but that was literally like Justice Winslow like year 2 or 3. Like he was pretty new still.
Year 2, I think.
Yeah, Winslow started 15 games that year. He only played 18. We had a bunch of Luke Babbitt starts.
I wanted to say Luke Babbitt, but I thought I was in the wrong era of Miami basketball. God.
Yeah, bunch of Luke Babbitt starts. Bunch of Rodney Magruder.
They finished that year like 31-10, I think, in the last half of the season. Like that was
because they started off like 10-30 or something like that.
Yeah,
Crazy stuff. I mean, even the Pelicans, not as drastic as that, but the Pelicans had a pretty good return to the play-in a couple of years ago too. So
they started
not
like
unprecedented.
They started like 1-15. It was like literally like 1-15 or something, and
I think 1-13. They were bad.
They were very bad.
They were bad.
And BI came back and started cooking.
He was cooking last night.
Stuff like that is why I'm such a Willie Green believer. Like, he just finds a way, bro.
Bro, him, Ty Lue, like they figure shit out. No matter who you give them, to be like, I can get 37 wins out of these guys.
Yeah.
We can make the play in.
No matter what.
I love coaches like that just like, they just look at their team and be like, I can get 500 basketball out of these guys.
Spo does that to an extent.
Kenny Atkinson was somebody that kind of was getting there. Like, just, I can get some wins out of these dudes. Like, I love coaches like that.
Always very impressive to see, but see if the Grizzlies can be the latest addition to that, because that's what they're going to have to do to try and pull it off. But we get more of what we saw last night from Ja, they'll definitely have a chance to do so. Let's move out east. Let's talk about the Cleveland Cavaliers. They have been hit by the injury bug pretty tough, and we will definitely talk about Trey some more later, Mo, because we gotta push the Trey agendas anytime we can for all the talk that me and Reek were trying to do.
Garbage ass team, bro.
I ain't giving any credit to the team, but
I'll give Trey his flowers, but I might be
I'll
saying that Trey needs a trade.
It's definitely not Trey Young. It's not his issue, man. Like, that's
definitely not.
Everything's out of his control. But
for as much Trey hating as I've done, he's doing the best he can out there, bro.
He needs to free himself.
He do. We'll get into that later, but we wanted to talk about another man freeing himself here, because Donovan Mitchell is going to be playing without some fellow all-star caliber talent for a little bit here. Darius Garland's going to be out for at least a couple weeks. Evan Mobley's going to be out for potentially upwards of 2 months. And he's now carrying the load even more than he was. Karis LeVert's been helping him out a little bit as of recent, and specifically tonight when Donovan Mitchell was out. But they're in an interesting spot now. They've kind of been limping along throughout most of the season. They've had guys in and out of the lineup for most of the season already. Now they got some long-term injuries to add to that. Mitchell's been having a great year, but they've just kind of been slowly staying along 500 and not really doing anything better than that. I'll start with you, Gabe. What do you think about this? What do you think about this Cavs team, man? Where are we going the rest of this year with this team? Because I'm not exactly feeling that confident.
Bro, the fact that Darius Garland is out as an NBA player with a broken jaw how does that even happen, bro? Like, you said it, like, as soon as we started streaming, the most unlucky, like, facial injury, like, that's got to be true. I can't think of anybody else. Like, I think, like, Embiid had, like, an orbital bone thing, like, a couple years ago, but he was just generally unlucky with the freak injuries. But, like, Garland with the is a strange thing. I will say, I think that Cleveland, I think they have to make a move. And I don't know exactly what that move is, but I just feel like if they keep things the way they are, I don't think Donovan Mitchell is going to be around long term. I don't know if that's a hot take. I don't think that's that hot of a take to say, but like, so far, last year he had to carry a lot of the load. Most specifically, the highlight's going to be like him popping off for 70 when Garland was out. But, then they get to the playoffs and it's like, not that he was like great by all means, but then all the guys around him were like horrible pretty much. And it's like, this season comes back around. It's year 2 in this situation. And here he is. And once again, kind of having to carry really hard. And he didn't choose to come here. When he was, trying to get out of Utah, I don't really think that Cleveland was his primary destination. It's like, I think that they have to like do something to really like buy in and make him want to stay. Because I think if you look at it right now, like he's probably gone in like 2 years. I think it's what, this year, then next year on his contract.
Yeah, then that year after is a player option, which you'll opt
So
out of.
yeah, I'm saying like after next year. So I think that like this coming off season, because I don't think they do anything mid-season, it's probably time to pick a big. I've been pushing the agendas forever of you just need to go with like Mobley or Allen, and you guys kind of push back and are like, they're already, the paint defense is kind of weak, like like the rebounding, whatever, but like it is struggling to work, and I don't really know what the long-term answer is, because as far as just keeping some of that paint presence and like pure like rebounding and all that, like you probably need to have Jarrett Allen around. And we know Mobley has the higher ceiling, but he's kind of stagnated a little bit recently as well, especially on the offensive end. And then you look at how it affects their offense, and it's like the spacing around Donovan Mitchell still isn't great. The shooting on this team still isn't very good. And having two non-shooting bigs on the court for most of the time is not helping that. I feel like they need to make a pretty massive shift here as far as like having one traditional big man, making sure that big man is somebody who can at least like control the paint decently well, so they can open up the floor a little bit more to provide some spacing for Mitchell and Garland when he comes back. As far as like the injury thing, like it just is what it is. Like it makes it harder for them this season. I think they'll still at least make the play-in. So like I think they'll still end up being competitive because Donovan Mitchell is that good. But most of my concerns are long term. If that's anything you take away from this like tangent, because I've kind of been all over the place, I think they need to make a big move long term to convince Mitchell to stay around, because he's very good, and the stuff going on around him is not very good.
I kind of thought like this season was very contingent on them having that long-term success with Donovan Mitchell, because he could easily go into this offseason and just be like, you might want to trade me because I'm not re-signing. Like he holds that kind of leverage going into the last year of his deal next offseason. So it almost couldn't have been as bad. Like it couldn't have been much worse than what's going on in Cleveland right now. I mean, like you said, Gabe, the injuries, teams deal with them. It happens. I mean, it sucks that Garland and both Mobley are both going to be out for like at least a month. Like that's like they're going to be out for some time. I think maybe more than that, but they're out for some time. Like that's tough. Like that's stuff that you can't really predict. You can't prepare for as much. But I just think it kind of just goes to like the way that this team's been kind of constructed. And I don't mind the too big experiment. It just has to be a little more modernized, I think. And what I mean by that is, like you mentioned, Gabe, like spacing is so contingent. It's so important in this league. Like you got to have at least adequate spacing to be a consistently good offensive team in the NBA. And as good as your defense can be, which we're just talking about the Memphis Grizzlies, a top with like 10 defense in the NBA this season. If the offense is just pouring up, like it's gonna be a struggle to win games. And that's really no matter who you have, on the perimeter creating shots like a Donovan Mitchell. Like you're just making his plate that much bigger that he has to deliver every single night, especially with now the injuries and stuff, right? But they'll probably will have to make a decision at some point, but it's tough because you would want Evan Mobley, and this is kind of going to be more Evan Mobley centric right now. You would want him to be able to develop into that guy, because he was raved about in the pre-draft process about he can be, if his offense gets there, he can be Chris Bosh level, he can be Kevin Garnett level, this, that, Anthony Davis, blah, blah, blah. We haven't seen that. The defense has been elite, which is a testament to its own. Like that's great and all, but he was drafted high, so highly touted. He was regarded as can be the best player in that draft because of the offensive upside that people wanted him to achieve. And we haven't seen that. Like you said, Gabe, has been very stagnant. I didn't see much improvement last season offensively. And I feel like he's basically pretty much the same player offensively speaking that he was his rookie year. Now, maybe just a little more comfortable making some decisions, but it's not a drastic jump. Like we haven't seen this crazy offensive leap that you see a lot from, especially year 3 big guys. You usually see that jump by now. You haven't seen it. it's like they're almost like handcuffing him in a way. Like they don't want him to expand his game. And I hate that for him. I hate that for the team because he's obviously not somebody that you're going to move off of, but he is the guy that would be able to unlock this team. We've seen him be able to do it on defense, but offensively unlock these guys. And it's almost holding them back in a way. And even if you trade Jared Allen, it's like, how are you going to still maximize Mobley on the defensive side of the floor, but upgrade offensively? I don't know what would be out there. Like I don't like the market's not even clear enough right now. It's just tough, and I feel like the writing's already kind of on the wall of what's going to happen. Donovan Mitchell's probably going to ask out, or he'll play all the way through next season. They won't trade him, and he's just going to leave. That's just how I see it with this team right now, and it's unfortunate. And I also think JB Bickerstaff, I think he's an okay head coach. Like he's not terrible. He can win games and stuff, but I definitely feel like he hasn't maximized this group as best as he can. Like we were just talking about coaches that can get wins out of guys. I don't know if JB's that kind of coach where he can really maximize everything out of this group. So I'm not saying he needs to be fired like now, but I feel like a coaching change will probably be imminent in this offseason as well. Like that's probably the big move that you're talking about, Gabe. I feel like that might be the start of it. Like let's get a new coach in here. Let's see if we can unlock something in Mobley. Let's see if we can convince Donovan one more year to stay. That's how I kind of can see things playing out down the line. But a lot of it outside of like the injury stuff is really just Mobley not being able to develop the way that he should be as a year 3 guy in this league, in his position. I feel like he should be a lot more advanced than what he is on the offensive side of the floor.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to touch too much on the too big situation because we know what that is. We've talked about it plenty. It's just the way it is in the modern NBA. There's very few teams that run two bigs, and if they do, one of them can normally shoot, i.e. Boston last year, or both of them can shoot in the case of any time that Kristaps and Horford is on the floor. Cleveland, you got none of that. You just got your two bigs that can't shoot. So that's going to have to happen eventually, whether that's in season, whether that's off season, whether that's into next year. Who knows? But barring some development from Mobley, that's going to have to change. I think something more drastic should happen in season. You guys alluded to it. Donovan Mitchell, barring a big trade, is probably not staying. And I don't know what move they can make that actually convinces him to stay because they're going to need a lot more success for him to stay. I don't see where that move exists for them. They don't really have any sort of equity to make that move possible, barring moving off of Mobley, which I would very much doubt is going to happen. They have no picks. They traded them all to get Donovan Mitchell in, so that's no longer an option. These injuries and the fact they got their pick this year, they might be trying to just get some value back for Donovan Mitchell. I don't see a world where he's around long term at this point. And you want to keep him, obviously. You traded away a ton of assets to get him, but I don't see the point in holding on to him at this point. Otherwise, you're just delaying the situation. You're potentially trading him this offseason, or you're trading him next season, or you're just risking him walking to the Knicks regardless once he becomes a free agent in 2025. I don't see the value at this point to keeping him around. If there was a move where you could say you can flip Jarrett and pieces to get in another talent, and you can make a push to a semifinals or an Eastern Conference Finals, okay, maybe there's some value there. I don't know if that move exists for Cleveland. I don't know that is feasible with the amount of assets they have right now. So Donovan Mitchell to the Knicks when they have like 10 million picks to give them right now probably makes a lot of sense. This is a year the Cavs have their pick. They can go in and get a decent player to add to this group, hopefully, if they can draft well and start to retool. There's still a lot of talent here to work with. This is still a team that has a very long and very large window to continue to compete, but the future's probably not with Donovan Mitchell. It just doesn't make sense to continue to run this risk of losing him for nothing at this point. And you might as well get some value back if it can be in a year where you can still have your draft pick at a decent place, even better. But I don't see why you would want to keep Donovan Mitchell long term and just continue to delay this process unless there's a way to continue to improve things. I just don't think that exists.
Yeah, with what they have right now, like there definitely is a lot of talent there, and if you can get a good return, I think if you're getting off of Donovan Mitchell, I think Jared Allen should probably go as well because like the way we're talking about like Mobley and what he needs to be, like eventually he's just gonna have to be that 5. And eventually, especially if you're just getting rid of like your top player, making this team significantly worse in the short term, you might as well just throw him into the fire and start getting him some reps there. You know, everybody's saying like, oh, we need him to like fill out into his NBA body and everything like that. And it's like on his draft profile, he was 215. On his basketball reference page right now, he is 215. Like this extra size that everybody keeps saying is coming for him to be able to play full-time 5, I don't know if it is. His actual offensive game, as far as just like having more of a bag, it's not coming either. Like he is so stagnant as far as an offensive player in general, and as far as like being able to be a full-time defensive 5. And it's like with this lack of development, he has that high ceiling, but like he's basically I think one of you guys said it, I think Reek said it, like he's been the same player pretty much for like 3 years at this point. And it's like the duo of him and Garland definitely still have a lot of upside. You know, they were pretty good before, like that season before Donovan Mitchell got there. Very good team until injuries kind of derailed them at the end. But to me, Darius Garland is like a little bit below like the LaMelos, Halliburton's, Trays of the world. Like he's to me below them, below Brunson, but still very good. Like probably like a top 6 point guard in the East, something like that. But it's like at this point, Mobley, like I don't know how good he gets because I haven't seen that jump. And that makes me scared to really move on. But once again, it's that ceiling, and it's like, what if getting off of Mobley could convince Donovan Mitchell to stay? Because you see Mobley has that ceiling, but it's not really panning out. And he could have that ceiling, and it could be like a Lowry Markkanen situation, right? Where like he has this potential, but maybe Cleveland just can't develop it to really unlock that. And so they might trade him, and he might end up flourishing, and then they're like, oh, shit. But it's clear that it just was not going to happen in that first location, like Lowry in Chicago. That's really the best comparison to it I would make, but it's like you have Donovan Mitchell on your team who's so good right now. Jared Allen, while his ceiling isn't nearly as high as an Evan Mobley, like he's very serviceable in that role. And because of Evan Mobley's ceiling, like his value is going to be sky high. Garland, I still think you definitely hold on to either direction you go because I think he's good enough to compete with Mitchell, and I think that he's young enough to, you know, stay around with Mobley. So he stays regardless. But when you see Mobley so stagnant, but people are still so sold on his ceiling, and you're as an organization not able to develop that and really make the most out of it, before he stays stagnant too long and that value starts to hit the tank, I mean, is there an option to explore the other side of it? Because Devin's more saying, you know, look to the future and get off Don. But if you could get off Evan Mobley, make a splash, and pair Mitchell with somebody who convinces him to stay because they can really compete, that could change the game.
Yeah, I feel like you also run the risk of kind of pigeonholing yourself into being like just another good team in the Eastern Conference that is not good enough to compete with the Celtics and the Bucks while they're still around, and held away and beat a maxi play like those guys while they're still around. Like that's still very possible, especially with like how the trade market is. Like you don't know who would be available. It's dicey. It's dicey, and you can just pigeonhole yourself into having less future assets, being just a middle of the pack team still in the East. It's iffy. It's iffy. If they were to make that big splash, I would probably lean towards what Devin was saying, like trade Donovan, just kind of, you know, take it to the chin. Like we tried, it didn't work out. It's better than him leaving to New York for nothing. Let's go ahead and get Quentin Grimes back. Let's get some picks back. Let's go ahead and do that. I could see that happening more, especially if you still got Garland. You know, like you said, Gabe, like if you do that, maybe move off the Allen, let Mobley just embrace that full-time 5 role. And what Mo said in chat, which we both said we agree with Gabe, like I agree with that. Like, I feel like Mitchell is holding him back, and not saying like Mitchell is just like this player that just makes his teammates worse. What I mean by that is, I feel like I kind of said earlier, like they're kind of just handcuffing Evan Mobley. They still got the training wheels on him on the offensive side of the floor. Like, you don't need to do too much. We got Donovan Mitchell and we got Darius Garland. You don't need to take that offensive lead. You can score 14, 15 points a game, and that's fine. But for him to be what he was, the number 3 pick, somebody that if you were around that time paying attention to that draft, they said this guy can probably be the best player in this draft when it's all said and done. I want to see more than just being a really good defensive player on the floor. That's what I'm saying. I'm not asking him to be Anthony Davis type level, like averaging 27, 8 points a game at his peak, but at least get into like the low 20s, like be that good offensively, expand your game, show that, look, you might not be like Kevin Love type of stretchability from the 3-point line, but be Jaren Jackson, be a league average 3-point shooter. Can we get that? Can we get some volume? Can we get some more, pick and pop from the mid range? Can we get some more turnaround jump shots in the post? Can we get something instead of you just getting easy dunks and layups from Mobley or from Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell driving to the basket? Can we get something expanded in the offensive game?
That's what I was saying about. That's what I was saying about the center thing was basically the same thing you're saying. Like, he's being handcuffed. Like, they need to throw him into the fire at some point.
That's why
if they throw him at the fire,
that's why I'd be comfortable with Dev's option. Like, look, just putting your pride aside, let's get off of Mitchell while we can get something back, and let's just embrace this direction of, look, we got Darius Garland, I think Darius Garland is good enough to be a light engine in the NBA from the guard position. I think he has that type of talent. People forget how good he was the year he was an all-star, and he had that team rolling as like a top 6 team in the Eastern Conference. He was damn good. He was a damn good engine. I was damn near about to put him on my MVP ballot last year because I thought, before the Donovan Mitchell trade, I thought he could take a really nice jump and get into that kind of elite guard tier, right? I think he's good enough to still be that kind of guy. You would have him, whatever you get in the Mitchell, we're assuming to Knicks trade, whether it's Quentin Grimes, whether it's RJ, I don't know what the fuck it looks like. But you get some type of young piece back who plays some good basketball. Whether it's Grimes, whether it's Barrett, those guys can both hoop, and they're young enough to where they can build with Mobley, they can build with Darius Garland, and whoever the hell else you have on this team. Like, you can build something, still be kind of like semi-competitive to win some games, because that's a talented young core. Maybe a coaching change, like I said with JB, but I like that direction more than just kind of going all in on the Donovan Mitchell experience. Because if I'm just being honest, I don't know how good a team with Donovan Mitchell as your best guy can be in the NBA. I'm going to just be brutally honest right there. I don't know how good that team can be. We've seen it in Utah. They were good. They never made a conference finals, but they were good. I just don't know how good that team can be, especially with the state of the Eastern Conference right now. Boston's not going away anytime soon. As long as Dame and Giannis are still in Milwaukee, they're not going to win anytime soon. And same thing with Embiid and Maxey in Philly. Those guys aren't going away anytime soon. So it just makes it tough if you want to buy into that route, because, God, you would have to like make some type of trade and some type of external moves to really push yourself to the top of that conversation in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah,
that's my Cavs rant. I don't got nothing else more to say.
I think it is tough to have Don as your number 1 guy on a true top tier contender. Like, if he's your number 2, sure, but are Cleveland pulling off another trade to do that? There's just no shot. The only way they even get the assets to be able to do that is if they trade away Donovan Mitchell. So I was creating a few hypotheticals as far as trades go as we were discussing all these. I'll go with Gabe's direction first of trading Mobley. Probably not realistic, but Laurie goes back to Cleveland. This now gives them their true elite wing, instantly helps the spacing. Is it realistic? Probably not. But if I'm Utah, Mobley's probably an interesting piece. Not that they need another big, but
they're unhappy with John Collins. So
that's so funny because I thought John Collins was playing okay, counting stats wise, but I guess not.
I saw that tweet.
Is it real? I think Danny Ainge is like crazy enough to where he would probably like consider that, depending on how much he likes Mobley. But it's crazy because they probably could have maybe convinced Cleveland or convinced Utah to do that a couple years ago. by trading Jared Allen, but now
Yeah.
you're giving up your young piece. But to each his own. Not as realistic, but I don't think it's like impossible.
The other thing to note with this is a pretty large admission of screwing up on trading away Laurie from the Cavs front office to give up this much to get him, like 2 years later.
Wouldn't it be
Should
kind
be
of
pretty
weird
funny.
for Utah to Utah would say they traded Mitchell to Cleveland and the biggest piece they got back was Mitchell, or not Mitchell. The biggest piece they got back was Lowry, just to trade him back to
It would be
Cleveland?
very weird. It would be very weird. Cavs are honestly a sleeper team right now, which said earlier
could
today
end
they
up-
aren't even considering big trades. Yeah, that's
The
fair.
Cavs and the Jazz could become the rapidly traded.
I don't know if you were in here for my Cavalier rant, Garrett, but I don't know.
On the flip side, this was what a potential Knicks trade could look like. You could switch out quickly with RJ and then take out Fournier to pretty much make the money work, but that's a rough framework that could make everything align. The
Well,
Knicks
let
have
me
a ton
ask
of picks, so
y'all.
you can make those however, but
I gotta ask y'all about any Donovan Mitchell Knicks trade though. Do you think? And I know it's a little bit different because Mitchell has a whole extra year on his contract, but do you think they're running the risk of literally repeating history with what they did with Carmelo? Because they knew that they could sign him in free agency. They traded for him ahead of time and got rid of the depth, therefore kind of fucking themselves over. Whereas now, if they just said, yeah, Donovan Mitchell's probably not going to re-sign, and we're the favorite to sign him.
Yes and no, because the yes part is, obviously you just run that risk of giving up too much for somebody that is likely to end up there if he hit free agency. But I think the no part is, you look at this trade right here. Miles McBride is always in and out of the lineup. Fournier does not play. Daquan Jeffries does not play. And then Quickly, who wants a bag, they can't pay him. I think that would make sense right there.
It's just
that would be
the other thing to note too that's different from back then is they're not signing Donovan Mitchell outright. It's going to be a sign and trade when they sign him. So not to say that they'd give up quite this much, but they will be giving up something when they sign him regardless. They're not going to have the money to sign him outright.
I think the picks are a little bit more. I think you're undervaluing the picks because you think if they're getting a player the caliber of Donovan Mitchell with what they already have, just say they still have Randall, Brunson, and Mitchell, and that's their three. Those guys are making so much money that the supporting cast isn't going to be able to make that much. So them being able to have those first to draft some guys that can play around them.
Look at all those
picks. I'm gonna show you all the picks.
Look where all those picks are
Let me move these picks back over. They have all of the picks.
They have a lot of
picks. They have all of the picks. They do not care about these picks. They are not using all four of their picks this year.
Man. All right, take what I said. All right, never mind, because that's a lot. I don't be able to. I was just thinking. Listen, I don't want them to end up gutted. We talk about Phoenix right now, where it's
for sure
they traded a bunch of assets, and then now it's they don't have a way to fill in that depth very well, and it's having some first. We saw the Warriors for as shitty as they look, the guys Moses Moody looks really good. Even Brandon Podziemski came in and he looks pretty solid for them. And you look at having those first, even if they're late first rounders, is really valuable when you have a good team. You might think we don't need draft picks, we're a competitor.
We talked about that a couple weeks ago. I forget who we were talking about, but we were saying having those. I don't know who we were talking about, but we were saying
maybe Denver. Because Denver, they just got.
I think we used Denver.
I know we've talked about it with OKC too.
I think OKC. That's who, because we use Denver as the example.
Yeah,
it's like how they do in the NFL. Teams that are good, they draft guys late in the first round who are ready to play, can come in, produce right away. NBA is kind of trending towards the same way. Denver's done it. We predicted OKC could potentially do that if they make that big trade down the line. So. Yeah, but the Knicks have so many picks, they could kind of overpay a little bit to get Donovan Mitchell, just say hypothetically, this season before the deadline, instead of waiting, a whole extra season to go and get him. So, and especially with the way Brunson's been playing, Randall's been playing, They're down some bigs, but Mitchell Robinson was playing, all defensive level basketball. Why not try and capitalize on trying to, even though I'm not like the biggest believer in just the Knicks getting Donovan Mitchell and that's going to make them great. I'm not the biggest believer in that, but it's a move that pushes you into more towards that direction than keeps you where you are or pushes you back, I think. So, give us some extra picks if you can get them right now. I wouldn't hate it.
Yeah, when you consider the fact they can give up 4 picks and like not even touch their own, or maybe give up 1, they still have a ton of flexibility. So, like you guys say, you don't want to put yourself in a position where you have nowhere to go in terms of future flexibility. Considering getting Donovan Mitchell is not the be-all end-all solution to become an instant favorite in terms of being a contender, but when you have this much flexibility, I mean, they're going to do something. There's no way they're going into next year's draft with those 4 first, although a lot of them are going to get deferred because there's a Pistons pick in there that has a ton of protections. There's a Wizards pick in there that has a ton of protections, but eventually they're going to convey. There's some year they're going to have a ton of picks. So something's going to change eventually.
There was a time when the Knicks in our lifetime never had draft picks. So it's kind of new, like seeing them have that many picks. And all the ones you just brought up in that trade, except for 1, were not there. So yeah, they got room. The way that their top guys have been playing, I think, might push them a little bit towards that envelope. Like, let's go ahead and try and make a splash move so we can get in the conversation. Like, why not? We've seen how Brunson can perform in the playoffs. He performs at an elite level. Like, why not push us towards that level? Like, they took the team that went to the NBA Finals to a competitive 6 games last year. So they probably think in their mind, like, we can just get that one more piece that can really, like, put us in that conversation with some of those top teams.
It is kind of crazy. Like, if in this hypothetical, if they were able to get Donovan Mitchell, like this era of good Knicks basketball started with Julius Randle, number 1 option, and like RJ Barrett, number 2 option. So for those guys to then become like the 3rd and 4th option on this team, like that's a good ass team. Now, Barrett, I feel like would probably be on the way out soon, just because for money reasons. But like, still,
keeping Quentin Grimes in that hypothetical would be like very helpful because of like Katie said, like he just does what he does basically, like catch and shoot defense. Like that's what he does, and that's a valuable trait to have on a team that would have that many guys that can average 20 points per game.
Yeah, I think it makes more sense to keep guys like him around. As like, sure, having a Barrett or a Randall as a 4th option is great, but I'd rather a guy who can do a little bit of everything at that point. Someone who's maybe a little bit better on the defensive end, maybe a little bit more of a connective piece. Like, you just don't need that many guys that can go out and get you 20 a night. So, but again, it just opens up more options for them, and they have the pick flexibility that if they want to maneuver however they want, that they'll have those flexibilities. So they're in a good spot. They need to make the right decisions over the next 18 months or so. It's a pretty big 18 months for them to decide if they're going to be a pretty good team for the next 5 years, or are they going to be a great team the next 5 years. They're sitting good, but it's just how good they'll be is going to be decided by what they do over the next little bit.
I think that front office has done a pretty steady job. They had the one-off season where they gave Fournier the money and Kemba the money, but they had money to burn, not really many options. So I'm not going to fault them too much for that. And there's a route to get off of. They already got off Kemba, but to get off Fournier as well. So, they gave Brunson pretty much an underpay of a deal at this point. Like, he's vastly underpaid. I think Julius Randle kind of underpaid too. Like, his contract wasn't insane for the production that he gives you during the regular season.
Agreed.
No, I feel like they've done a pretty good job, like, kind of navigating everything and not trying to overpay or, just make a trade just because. But hopefully when the move does become available, if it is Donovan Mitchell, if it's not, they make the right move, and hopefully it continues, like Gabe said, the good trend in Knicks basketball.
Hopefully so, man. Hopefully so. But let's move off of Donovan Mitchell and the Knicks and the Cavs. We got a bunch of quick fire questions and predictions we're going to run through for the rest of the stream. Some of them we might have no debate to go over, and we'll just leave it at that. Some of which we might have a little bit more debate for, and we'll discuss as needed. But we'll start with the Toronto Raptors and the Toronto Raptor fan. We all know Scotty Barnes has been taking his leap in year 3. In year 3, though, is Scotty Barnes going to be an all-star?
Yes. I might be a homer,
Hmm.
but just looking at like the forward pool in the Eastern Conference, I'm thinking we got Tatum, we got Giannis, Embiid. I guess kind of spoiler alert for the next question, but I think Paolo probably gets in. After that, we're talking probably like Bam. Do they usually classify Jaylen Brown as a forward or a guard?
I think last year he was a forward.
I think so. I haven't looked at voting yet this year to see where he's actually classified, but
Which he should be because he probably plays like 6 guard minutes a game. He does not play a lot of guard.
yeah, I would think forward. That's what I classified him as.
But yeah, then it gets close because you think Jaylen Brown probably gets in. And that's 6 front court players. So at that point, it's probably as like one of the last couple guys, especially because they're not very good. It's also cutting hairs because like Mikhail's in that mix.
He's been better.
Yeah.
But I think like stats wise, Barnes has been better than Mikhail, but the Nets are a bit better than the Raptors are, so it is very close. But I do feel like he'll end up making it one way or another, either as just one of those last couple guys, or we know inevitably there's like usually like 1 or 2 extra guys who gets picked a year just because of like injuries. So I do feel like he will end up getting in the game.
As of right now, I don't think he gets in outright. And I love Scotty. Scotty's had a really good year. I don't think he gets in outright. He'll probably would be like one of those next guys up, but you got to factor in like the Magic are, if they keep this pace, definitely getting one, and it's more than likely not going to be Paolo. I would imagine Boston gets 2. JB's been playing actually really good basketball himself. And then it's like you're kind of cutting hairs, and I think the one thing that's going to hinder Scotty the most is like Toronto's not really that good. Yeah. And that's probably going to hurt him, especially when it comes to reserves where that stuff matters more than fan voting and stuff.
I do feel like coaches – I feel like he's a player that coaches would really like, though.
But you just look – I don't know. You kind of look through history, unless there's just like a really just depleted pool of forwards. Like I think Sabonis got in one year on being on a non-playoff team. But outside of that, man, like they really be splitting hairs like that. And they might put somebody in over him that probably is on par, like having a similar kind of season. Like Julius Randle is in that conversation. He's been damn good.
For sure.
Especially over the last few weeks.
Yeah, looking at the names that Garrett sent in chat, like I think to me, Scotty would get in over regular season Jimmy, over Siakam this season, definitely, and I would say over DeMar, just like even I don't even know what DeMar's stats look like right now.
He's only averaging a bit over 22. That's not enough for DeMar because like. All due respect to DeMar, I love the man, but like he ain't doing nothing but scoring these days. A little bit of playmaking, but that guy's got to be averaging at least 25 on as poor of a Chicago team as they are this year to get consideration.
But, I don't know. Like, even though like I would imagine Miami would likely get one guy more than likely than not.
I think they get one. I don't know who it's going to be. I don't know who it's going to be, but one of Jimmy or Bam will get in. There's a forward spot mark Miami. Who gets it, I don't know, but one of them will get it. And then after that, I don't know if it's between Paolo, Mikhail, Jaylen Brown, Scotty Barnes. Like those guys are just fighting at that point. I don't know who's going to get the nod. Mikhail's probably the really odd man out right now. He's probably the fourth of the 4 options there for the 2 spots that are going to battle for it. But I think he's got a shot, but I probably agree with you, Rick. I think it is a little bit more likely that it's as an injury replacement, but I think he does have a lot more of a shot than I expected him to have. I'll definitely give him that much.
He had that kind of like a few weeks where he's playing like kind of back to old Scotty, like just numbers wise, but he started like picking back up recently.
Bro, it was Pascal's fault, bro.
Yeah, Pascal's starting to
put the ball in Pascal's hands more. And bro, I was seeing games where Scotty's taking like single digit shot attempts. So I'm like, bro, stop.
It's like, what happened to the game I love, man? Like,
please get Pascal
Yeah.
out of Toronto, and that's not Pascal Siakam hate. That we talked about it too many times. We debut in the new. We'll bring out Happy Raptor in the new setup. Get Pascal out of it.
It's definitely a tough list. Like the forward pool might not seem as like deep, but like Garrett didn't even mention Julius Randle, who's been playing out of his mind. But you had to think Butler or Bam probably get a spot for Miami, and then it's like Julius, it's Mikal, it's Pascal. You know, he mentioned France. Like it's tough. It's tough. He's in that mix though for sure. Like, you know, if he ramps it back, like really back up, like he can definitely be in that mix and put himself like at the front of that conversation where there'd be like, yeah, like the Raptors ain't that good, but I mean Scotty's great, so we kind of got to put him in the mix.
Definitely. If the Raptors can climb up to maybe around 500 basketball, that would definitely help. I ain't banking on it, but that's probably the other biggest thing that'll help them at this point. But we'll see. I won't discuss the Magic having an all-star too much because we've already touched on that now with Paolo. I think at this point they got to have a spot.
They have
as long as they continue to play this well.
I don't care if one of them guys was just averaging 16 points a game. They got to get one guy in. Like you've been consistently the second best team in the Eastern Conference with the Bucks lurking around, with Boston being as good as they are. Like you're right in that mix. Like you have to get one guy in.
Wasn't that like a really good team that didn't get an all-star pretty recently? I feel like there's a team that was like a 4 or 5 seed, like didn't get anybody.
Not sure.
I can't think of who it was, but did New York? Yeah, no, Julius Randle made it last year, right?
Yes, Randle was an all-star last year.
Because Brunson didn't.
Yeah, they didn't get 2, but they had a spot. I'm not
the
sure.
The guard pool was low-key tough because Kyrie was still over there last year, and he got the starting vote last season, so that kind of hurt Brunson. And Harden didn't even get in either.
Yeah, that was a lot of guard talent this year, or last year, I should say. I mean, there is again this year, to be fair, but watch Trey get left out again.
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, looking at looking at raw counting stats, like even like Scotty is probably even just overall performing better than Paolo, but the Magic are so good, like he gets that spot.
Yeah. Just based on how good the Magic have been, they definitely have got to be in with a good shot of having one. I'd be disappointed if the rosters came out and one of Paolo or Franz did not get in.
Yeah, facts.
I'll move us along here. We got some award predictions to make. We will start with Defensive Player of the Year because my pick is not exactly leading the way so far, but I might be pushing some Rudy Gobert agendas the way they keep going.
I don't even remember who my pick was. I think that's how bad it was. Was it Anthony Davis? It might have been AD.
I think it was. I think it was.
I might
AD.
have to look back.
It might have been AD, and I really, really want to say Anthony Davis. It's a little closer than you might think for me, but Rudy's been anchoring the best defense in the league, and it's because he's gotten back to that level. So
by far,
like you can't even really dispute it that much, man. Shout out to AD; he's had an incredible season on that side of the floor too. But Rudy got the Timberwolves playing in a different stratosphere right now, and man,
Rudy has the narrative too. Like the amount of flack he caught last year for the way the Wolves performed and for them to be playing at this level on the defensive side of the ball. I mean,
we said he was washed, bro. He was in the.
I hate to just for the mindset on that trade from 6 months ago to now, bro, everybody was shitting on that trade hard, and I'm not gonna say it was a great trade, but it's looking damn good right now. It's looking good right now. So I think Gobert takes that award. He's got the narrative. The Timberwolves are playing to that level. we know what he does individually. It's boring, man. It's like the fourth time he's gotten it.
Just one of the best defensive bigs we've seen.
And this might be the most deserving time, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I still think he has Ben Simmons trophy at his crib in 2021.
No, I mean, Timberwolves. I mean, I don't know if I expect them to remain a 1 seed. We'll get to that later, but they remain top 3, top 4 in the West. Gobert keeps playing the way he's playing. It's going to be pretty tough for anyone to take that award from him. Now, if the Lakers start to become a top 4, top 3 seed, AD becomes more prevalent in that conversation, presuming he continues to play as well. But as it stands right now, I think Rudy's in with a pretty good shot at that.
I think AD's a little closer than we might think because the Lakers without him on the floor, not really a good team. They're not that good, but
very true.
I'm thinking of like that in-season tournament championship game. I know y'all remember that play where he stopped the drive going to the rim, kicked out to the corner to Obi Toppin. He ran him off the 3-point line with a hard closeout, and then he recovered. Obi Toppin made the pass down low. He altered the pump fake, and then he got the block shot. Like, AD's been great. He's been great. But Rudy,
yeah, I think it'll take like it would almost take a change in like the way that teams kind of evaluate or like how voters evaluate it. Because like, you know, super early season, people were like, should Wemby be in deep boy conversations while the Spurs are like a bottom 10 defense? And even now, like the Lakers are only like the 8th best defense in the league. So it's like to have a deep boy without a top 5 defense in the modern NBA, it would probably take a pretty significant like shift in what's the word I'm looking for? Just the history for it. The precedent is the word I'm looking for. Like I think you have to have a precedent shift for AD to win it.
I'll be interested to see like his number, like his on-court numbers and where they would rank in those like defensive ranks. Like I feel like that would be, I would hope voters will look at that a little more than just like overall, like, oh, this team's top, is 8th in defense and this team's first. Maybe just push numbers a little more.
Don't be surprised if Chet starts sneaking into the conversations here soon because the Thunder are creeping up on being a top 3 defense.
You see, and I wouldn't put that past voters at all because, like, I remember there was a year like Avery Bradley didn't make all defense for something that he had no part in. Like voters put that reason, like, that's why I didn't vote for this guy. Like, I would hope that voters would, do a little more like due diligence with that type of stuff.
But, he wasn't like somebody dropped 60 and like he didn't play that game.
I think it was booked 70-point game and like Avery Bradley didn't play. Like, yeah, NBA voters are interesting cats, to say the least.
Yeah, they are definitely very interesting. The Lakers' best defensive lineup has a defensive rating of 103.8. For reference, the Timberwolves are first in the league at 107.9. That Lakers lineup is the 15th best lineup in the league in terms of defensive rating, which is D'Angelo Russell, Max Christie, interesting, with Taurean Prince, LeBron, and AD. Only 156 possessions, but that is their best defensive lineup so far this year. The next best defensive lineup, which has a lot more volume at 289 possessions, is D'Lo, Cam Reddish, with Taurean Prince, LeBron, and AD. So AD lineups are definitely giving them a good defense, and it's very much falling off after that.
It's a travesty that like guys like him, Tim Duncan, even like KG only has one deep boy. Like it's kind of insane that those guys don't have more of a like more hardware when it comes to that award because those are some like the best defensive players at that position that we've seen. But
seems like there's just less to go around. Like
Yeah.
Ben Wallace has like 4, like Mutombo has like 3, like Dwight Howard has 3, Rudy Gobert is probably about to have 4, Kawhi has 2.
That's
like,
probably one award where like
award that doesn't get around
not kick in, man. The voter fatigue does not kick in for those guys. You're like, yep, this guy's still elite. Let's give him the award.
Ben Wallace might have got voters fatigue and Ron Artest may have one of Ben Wallace's trophies at his crib, but
maybe.
Yeah, defense is just still so reputation based. I feel like it's getting a little bit better, but it's still so reputation based. So if a guy just continues to not be dramatically worse on defense, it's like, okay, we'll keep giving it to you. Your team's like number 1 defense, top 3 in defense. Okay, we'll keep handing it to you.
God, there was somebody that was still getting deep, like all defensive nods. I'm like, bro, this guy does not guard like that anymore. Like, he's solid, but he doesn't. I forget who it was. It might have been like, I don't know. It might have been Kawhi still getting both. Somebody like that. That like
Maybe
they
like
can still
it
guard.
might have been like Chris Paul or something low key.
Maybe Chris Paul. I don't know. But it's somebody. We're like, bro, like they don't guard like that no more. They're still good, but there's people that are better on that side of the floor now.
Yeah, defense, Depoy, all defensive teams are always weird for that, but hopefully we, at least on that all defensive front, get a little bit more variation this year. I think there's a few new guys that'll jump onto those lists this year, but that's a conversation for another day.
Draymond Depoy is crazy.
Draymond Depoy is crazy. Let's move along to another award prediction. One that is probably a lot more up for debate for Depoy, and that is most improved player.
Man, is Mo in here? He might not be in here anymore. Look, man, there's some guys on this list that obviously are very, very deserving. Have had great years, man. But when I think of a most improved player, Kobe White fits the bill for me, man. Fits the bill of an MIP for me, man. Kobe White, my Carolina guy. You gotta clap it up for him, man. He's been playing like really, 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 really good basketball from that point guard position over the last few weeks. And it's like it's a blessing and a curse that it took a Zach LaVine injury to kind of let him spread his wings and show what kind of a player that he could potentially be in this league, for an extended period of time. And he's showing a little bit of everything, man. He's scoring the basketball. He's making it at a very solid level. Really been kind of like, I would say, somewhat of an engine for this team. And, this is a team that we're like, man, like they just miss Lonzo. And, yeah, Kobe White's probably not the point guard that you would want or Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan would want. But he's the point guard that the Bulls need. And he's taking that lead. This is a guy that really, I think in a lot of people's eyes, was looked at as like he's probably just a six-man type of player in this league. But I think he's shown that he can be a starting point guard. And he would be my MIP. I know there's some guys where their numbers might pop a little more, but Kobe White would get my vote right now because I think he fits the bill. He's somebody that I think has taken this game from an okay level, like a kind of role player-ish, to being like a high-quality starting player in the NBA. And hopefully the stretch continues for him. Hopefully they make those tough decisions and they just let him continue to rock out because he's shown you no reason why he shouldn't be one of the few building pieces that they have. He's shown no reason why he shouldn't be one of the guys leading that pack going forward.
Kobe White's such a weird case because he's had like seasons before where he's averaged like 15 or so. And I think right now in this season, he's only at like 17. But just looking at like from last year where I think he averaged like 9 and he could probably climb to like 20 by the end of the year. I mean, his last 10 games, he's at 25, 6, and 6. Like that's pretty ridiculous stuff. I do think that he should probably take this award home just for, the general, like, we've talked about this many times, and so have, like, everybody else on every other platform. But there's a lot of guys who are kind of, like, leading the pack. Like, I think the odds favorite right now is, like, Tyrese Maxey, and there's a good chance he wins it. And he's definitely improved. Like, I think he's gone up, like, 5 points per game, like, doubled his playmaking numbers. Like, he's made a massive improvement. But as far as just like a guy who goes from like just okay to like, oh, this guy is like kind of special, that archetype of the classic like MIP build, that's Kobe White this year. And so assuming that he keeps up more of this current production and not like the first couple weeks of the year where he kind of started slow, he has a really good chance to take this award home.
Yeah, I love a Kobe White shot. I think he's got to have a really good chance if he continues to play the way he has. Like you said, Maxey's going to have a shout. Don't love it, given where he already was at production-wise last year, but he has certainly improved. Scotty's going to be in the conversation, but again, that's another John Morant situation. I'm not really advocating for that. Another name I want to keep an eye on, assuming that he stays healthy, Cam Thomas. A lot more of its volume and actually getting a chance. But I can't deny the fact dudes went from 10.6 to 24.4 points per game this year. I mean, regardless of the fact that his minutes have doubled and his shot attempts have more than doubled, that increase in production in of itself is worth a lot. I mean, 14 point per game jump is pretty absurd. That's just not something you hear. So he's got to stay healthy. Kobe White's probably my show right now just because Cam Thomas has missed a bit of time. He's only at 17 games right now, but if he can stay available the rest of the year, if he keeps those numbers up, that's going to be pretty tough to beat. Plus 14 point differential in points on any graphic is going to make most voters go like, okay, Cam Thomas won the award. So that's probably Kobe White's biggest competition right now if he can stay healthy.
There's a tear coming out of my eye.
Jump like 14 points per game. Like he went from like 6 to 20 points per game. So yeah, I can't get mad at the Cam Thomas pick.
Man, there's a tear coming out of my eye, bro. Like you guys
he didn't get hurt initially, man, because man's was averaging 28 a game through like 2 weeks of basketball.
You guys really are just like, you finally respect Cam Thomas, man. And the Nets are decent, just like I said they would be.
He's still a funny player to watch because like he don't pass, but when I watch him like in an interview, I'm like, I see why. Like he just has that confidence. Like I could pass, but I practice these shots. I practice these shots. I can make these shots, and he's making these shots. So, I gotta give credit where it's due. Like I said earlier, he just had another big game the other night. I think it was against either Golden State or Utah. But he had like a 40 piece. Like yeah, they need that. And us as basketball enjoyers, we need to see Cam Thomas take these bad shots, but make the bad shots. Continue to score 25 a game. Like we need this.
Definitely special to see, man. Nice to see him at least getting regular run this year. It's definitely been nice to see.
Man, they put the trust in him consistently. They didn't take him out of the lineup with one bad game.
Yeah, no choice. Like we need offense, man.
They definitely did, and he is very much giving them that.
Those two guys. I was gonna say, like to Gabe's point earlier, those two guys fit what an MIP has traditionally been. Like guys that kind of may have not had that full opportunity, but once they get it, they take off. Those Kobe White, Cam Thomas, those guys fit the bill better than anybody right now.
Definitely do. I would very much be a fan of either of those guys winning the award. Let's move to another All-Star question. Back now in Boston for Reek. Is Tyrik White going to be an All-Star this year? I'm not advocating for it, but it has been pushed around over the last week or so.
I have been seeing some people say Boston probably deserves 3 All-Stars. I don't know if they get 3. And God, I love Tyrik White. Like I was talking at work today. I'm like, if I get a Celtics jersey, it's gonna be a Tyrik White jersey. Like that's my guy. I love Tyrik White. Made a 25-minute video on Tyrik White a week ago. Like I love that guy's game. But no, his numbers have been really good this season. I don't think he's an All-Star just because the quality of guards in the Eastern Conference is just it's too deep right now. Like there's too many really, really good guards out there. Like who's spot? Like we're already talking like Trae Young might get left off. I don't think he's getting left off for Tyrik White. As great as he's been, basically a career high scoring, playmaking has been near a career high mark. I think he's an all NBA caliber defender once again. Probably a first team guy for me, but an All-Star, not outright. At least it would probably take like a few injuries to happen for him to even be in that mix. But he's been great. We'll see if he can maybe elevate. If he gets up to like, I don't know, 18, 19 a game, there might be a little discussion more. But as of right now, I'm gonna say no on the Tyrik White All-Star train.
Yeah, I assume we might be doing like All-Star team predictions fairly soon. It might be like a month or so. They're like a month till they get announced, right?
Yeah,
it's almost not that far away.
We got some time, but like looking at it now, I would think the first 5 in no particular order is probably Brunson, Maxey, Mitchell, Halliburton, Lillard.
Yeah.
The 6th guy probably ends up being Trae. There always is that factor of like Trae's either a starter or he just ends up not making the game. So we'll see because coaches hate Trae Young. But I think objectively looking at it, like those are probably your 6 guys. And then you're hoping like maybe somebody holds on to like a last spot. And that's where you're talking about, we're talking about Scotty earlier. Like Derek White might be kind of in that same range, like guys like Mikal Bridges and those last couple just extra spots. And it probably leaves Derek White out. Like you guys said, the quality of the guards. I can name 6 guys at the top of my head, 2 starters, 2 backups, and 2 guys to take like the last couple reserves. So
yeah, great season from him, but it's a tough battle to get a spot in the East right now as a guard.
Which is fun. I always go back to this. Like a couple years ago, Kemba Walker was like the perennial starter.
Yeah.
It's like Kemba and DeMar DeRozan are like Kyrie Irving.
Or Kyle Lowry and Kemba or some combination of those guys. Like, and now it's like we're talking about Trae Young being left off when he's having like one of his best stretches of basketball that we've seen him play.
Trae's a weird case though, because Trae, like the coaches just hate him. I'm like, if he doesn't get in as a starter, I just like I can't say full force. Like he could literally be averaging Wilt numbers, like 50 points per game. And I'd be like, even if the coaches though, the coaches vote on the reserves. I don't know.
I think even if like LaMelo didn't get hurt, like he might be in the conversation to get left off just because like wins would factor in. And
I think LaMelo would make it over Trae in the coach's eyes.
I think so too.
He might. He might.
Not saying he should make it over Trae, saying I think he would make it over Trae.
And even like it's tough out east. Like even though he just got hurt, but Darius Garland was in nobody's mind, and Darius Garland's really good, but it's tough out, especially with Dame coming back out there. Brunson's
a lot. Like that's his first. This will be Brunson's first All-Star appearance, right?
Yeah.
He's in.
Almost 26 a game.
He'll be a first timer. Maxey will probably be a first timer.
Yeah.
Paolo will probably be a first. The East will have like 3 or 4 first timers. If Mikal gets in, if Mikal or Scotty gets in, that's like probably. I wouldn't be surprised if the East had like 4 first time guys.
Do y'all think Derek White would get in before Trae Young?
No.
At least I really hope he doesn't.
But once again, the coaches, bro. The coaches love that defense.
I feel like if Boston keeps this pace, man, it's going to like be a conversation, especially if KP keeps missing like games here and there. It could be a little interesting. Derek White's pretty much been available all year, other than like when his kid was born.
The only time to get 3, bro. The only team to get 3, I think, is going to be Minnesota. I think Minnesota will get 3.
I don't know if they get 3.
3. I don't know if they get 3 either. I think
who are you leaving off in that front in that front court? Because I know you're saying Ant's making it, and if both Rudy and Cat get in, who's getting left off in that front court? LeBron's making it. AD should make it. KD should make it.
Kawhi's making it.
Leaving Kawhi off. Who else am I?
All right, you're making
Zion and BI are going to be in the conversation.
Yeah, Zion BI.
Laurie's going to be in the conversation. Not that Utah's good, but he's been good enough. Sabonis is going to be in the conversation. Like, there's a lot of guys for Minnesota to have 3.
Paul George might get a shout too if the Clippers keep.
All right, I think just because their defense is so good, I think Gobert gets in as a reserve.
Which is kind of crazy because Cat.
And I think that's what I'm saying. Cat's been really
54 90 range.
But bro, I think that Ant. Never mind. I was gonna say Ant could fuck around and be a starter, but no. Luka and Curry's fan bases are fucking ginormous. Those are probably.
I don't think Curry should be a starter,
but he will be.
He will. Yes.
Yeah, he will.
1,000% will.
Yeah.
But on my ballot, right? If I were to put my ballot down right now, I would probably have Luka and De'Aaron Fox. Or Luka and Shaq. A combination of those 3. I don't know which one.
Cat is a 50, 40, 90, 22, 9, and 3.
Having his best defensive season.
Tough.
What's Ant at right now?
Ant is at 24, 5, and 5. 45, 38.
Kind of slowed down a little bit.
He's had a couple of rough nights. He had a really rough tour date a couple of nights ago, but he's still been good. There's been a few nights where he's been a little bit hit or miss, but
I think he had a game where he got hurt early and had to leave. So had a few.
Bro, come on, bro. Ant is in there.
He's not a lock. He ain't a lock. Do we get? Is he? He should be considered a backcourt player.
He should be.
So, Luka, Shea, De'Aaron, Steph. Ant's probably the fifth guard.
Probably.
Bro, he's literally the best. He's
Devin
the best
Booker?
player. Bro, you're
Booker's
saying the
gotta
best.
get in.
There's no way the best player on the best team in the league doesn't make the All-Star team.
Yeah, he'll get in. But
You can't be the best player on the best team in the league and not make the All-Star.
I think Ant's he's the best player, but I don't think it's like overwhelmingly like clear cut the guy.
Bro, I don't care if it's clear cut or not. He's the best player on the best team in basketball. He's making the All-Star game. Steve Nash won MVP. I'll be the best player on that team.
You just heard the names, right? Luka, Shea, De'Aaron, who's averaging 30 a game, Steph, Devin Booker.
I guess Luka ain't making it this year, man.
Oh, get the fuck out of here.
Luka.
Luka's there.
ends on a playoff team. Come on now.
This might be the first time I ever slandered Curry.
The case he might have is Book's missed a lot of games.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah,
the case he
definitely.
has.
that definitely.
I guess it's real. It's real good that 12 just got back because that would make it even harder.
That's mad. That's so nasty, bro. That is a lot of guards, bro. We just talk about the East. The West is worse because all those guys are like super, super deserving, and you can't really say like the only guy you can say like their team's not good is Steph.
Yeah, and that's not even.
People were talking about Jamal Murray making an All-Star jump, bro. Like, there's no shot in this conference.
I don't think Jamal Murray's ever gonna make an All-Star game, bro.
Nah, that's the thing. We didn't talk about Jamal. We didn't even talk about Kyrie, and he's missed time.
In this economy,
Kyrie.
In this point guard economy, you think that Jamal Murray is gonna make the All-Star team?
I said he'll never make the All-Star team.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Certain guys like the Rockets, they could keep being good. I don't know if Jalen Green's ever getting into an All-Star game, but
he would have
max money. Clay definitely ain't getting his max money because he's nowhere near an All-Star bid.
No shot.
I don't know who I would have starting between the three of Luka, Shea, and De'Aaron. I might lean Shea and Luka, but man,
I think
De'Aaron's
that's
been
what
so
they
damn
do.
good.
But
I think
De'Aaron has been special. I could make an argument for all three being in some type of MVP conversation. They've all been that good.
OKC is the best team there, so I think that Shea definitely starts.
Ron, AD, Kawhi, KD, Jokic, Cat. I don't even think I mentioned Jokic earlier. Yes, Jokic.
I'm afraid that Chet Holmgren will be taking up a nice front court spot in the Western Conference.
Get the fuck out of here, man.
I'd love to see that, but there's no shot. If he gets in over Cat or Gobert, no shot.
Bro, Chet said the best player in the NBA is him in 3 months, bro. He's the best player in the league.
He's been damn good. Motherfucker ain't nowhere near the best player in the NBA.
He's the best rookie in the league.
Yeah, best rookie. Motherfucker ain't even the best player in his team.
He is the best rookie in the league.
Definitely give him that.
Chet's been incredible, but
they about to have Wemby wearing that Donovan Mitchell rookie hoodie to the game, bro.
That front court is just gross, bro. Like Bron, AD, Kawhi, KT, Jokic, Cat, Gobert, Sabonis.
Bro, we need an expansion draft, dog. That's too many players.
I mean, that just goes to show what the West front court can look like when dudes are actually healthy. Because I feel like we haven't seen this in a long time, but dudes are healthy this year. This is nice to see.
You got players like Paul George whose names ain't even been brought up, bro. Like,
yeah, or BI or Zion, Laurie. Like, like there's so much talent.
That team is good.
Jaren Jackson was a fucking all-star last year. He's not even sniffing the game.
Nor close.
Bro, Sengun has been cooking all season. He's not sniffing the All-Star game.
No shot. It's crazy, man.
Jesus, man.
Crazy talent. Gonna be some tough snubs this year, that's for sure.
My guy Andrew Wiggins fell from grace, man. All-star starter to I don't even know if he should be starting on his own team.
Ooh, Wiggins?
Yeah.
I will say Kuminga looked pretty good last night. He's been playing some good basketball.
He has been playing nice. Podziemski's also been looking very nice.
Yes.
To be fair, I've
I know
liked him
that's your
since the
boy.
draft process, but he's been looking really good. As has Trace Jackson Davis, who I also liked in the draft process. Warriors are looking
Bro,
really good in that draft so
My
far.
God, I need to go on my rant, bro. It's a small rant, but the way he was really outplaying Al Horford last night was just like, are you fucking serious?
Wait, who was?
Trace Jackson Davis was just
Oh.
outpulling Al Horford on the boards in fourth quarter and overtime. I'm like, bro, are you fucking serious?
That's a Big Ten legend, Trace Jackson Davis, right there, man.
I didn't know his dad was Dale Davis. I didn't know that, but it makes sense. They bring that same energy. Yeah, he was crazy last night. He was good. Chris Paul, I saw a tweet. They said Chris Paul got that bench running like the Navy. He really does. Like when that bench unit comes in with Chris Paul, like you can tell the pace is a little different. Like it changes up a little bit. But yeah, Warriors, they definitely played a little better over like last week.
It's those starters who are ass, bro.
Yeah, their starters that were bad.
Clay is horrible. Get Clay out of there, bro. There's no reason
I
Steph should be out.
Clay a little crazy. He's been playing a little better.
He's been better recently.
Yeah.
He's been okay.
He can still kind of
not what they want from Clay, but he's at least been okay.
Kuminga's very close to averaging Wiggins in terms of points per game this season. I'll say that.
Yeah, that does not shock me. And
Kuminga is at 12.2. Wiggins is at 12.3. Yeah, it's much more efficient. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, much.
Kuminga is statistically a better 3-point shooter than Andrew Wiggins this year.
It's crazy. Fair play to
Wiggins
Kuminga,
can't hit
man.
the side of the ocean right now. my boy got a haircut and everything, and it still ain't matter. Like no aura. It's just bad right now.
We need a box fade Wiggins back, man.
Sengun is definitely sniffing it. Yeah, Sengun has like a puncher's chance of getting consideration. He's been good though. He's been really good.
He's definitely been good. While we're on the topic, are the Rockets a play-in team by the end of the year?
Bro, hear me out. I think so. They're the.
Go ahead, Gabe. Go ahead.
This defense, their defense is kind of good, bro.
Kind of.
I'm just saying that, bro.
Kind of.
Defense is very good.
Listen, bro. For
it's a big sample size too.
For a team to have like one of like the pass first style big man like that, most of those teams have struggles on defense. But who doesn't? The Rockets. Dylan Brooks has that winning experience in Memphis. Fred VanVleet, he's done his fair share of winning in Toronto. They got the veterans. Don't they got Uncle Jeff down there still? Come on.
Uncle Jeff
will be closing.
Yep.
They making it in, bro.
Would they be a playing team? Man. Somebody has to
fall out.
If we expect the Warriors to get better, somebody got to fall out.
Do we expect the Warriors to get better? Because Clay and Wiggins look like not as good as Dylan Brooks. Dylan Brooks is better than both of them right now.
I do expect the Warriors to get better.
Yeah, they are only a game and a half back of the Rockets right now. Yeah, so as bad as they've been, like the gap is not large.
Houston's going to be fighting for their life to try and stay in front of Golden State. And I don't think they'll be able to do it. So if I give you a straight answer, I'm going to say they will not be a playing team by the end of the season.
I think if they can put together some road wins, I think they will be. The team still travels pretty horrible.
That's the thing. You feel me? Like
really bad. They're horrendous on the road.
They stink on the road. And as good as that defense has been, look, Golden State, they usually even out in most of their bad areas over the last few years. I think they'll even out a little bit. We'll see how they look over the stretch with no Draymond. Maybe they've been playing decent since the suspension. So, not saying anything, but we'll see. We'll see how things turn out. But I think Golden State will probably be the team that punches Houston out of the play-in. And just because like Phoenix is down there, like come on, bro. Phoenix is a much better team than the Rockets. It's just I can't see KD and Book, even if Bradley Beal's not playing basketball. I can't see them being that team that gets knocked out.
What a bad trade. What a horrible trade, bro. That Bradley Beal trade, I didn't like it from day one.
It was.
They have just kept Chris Paul.
There's an argument for it.
Bro, this dude Bradley Beal is straight 6 out of 27 games, 28, something like that, bro. Yeah, 27 games. Bradley Beal's played 6 of them. What even is his injury, bro? Like he's like there, then he's not there.
Is it his back?
I don't even remember what it is anymore.
It was his back, and he just rolled his ankle, so he was out like another 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's what it is now. Yeah,
dude, I saw like there was like some like Suns meme, and it just was one of those like all the player faces, and it just like had half of Bradley Beal because he ain't ever there, and he wasn't ever there for like
expensive backpack for 30. Bro, this calling players by their number it's funny. But I saw something earlier. Somebody was like, for the Lakers, they were like 7's back. And somebody quote tweeted, they were like, there's like 10 players in the league that deserve just their number being referred to them. And they're like, Gabe Vincent is not one of those guys.
If it makes you feel any better, when you were saying that, I was waiting for you to say who it was because I did not know who was wearing number 7.
You're probably thinking of Troy Brown Jr. because Gabe Vincent hasn't not played this season for real.
I thought Gabe Vincent was. What if Gabe Vincent wore number 2?
He wore 2 in Miami.
That's probably why.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I wouldn't have known if it wasn't for me tuning into a bit of that game earlier because now Matt has not been playing. He played like a game or 2 early on, and that was it. Not that he played well in those games, but I think the Rockets are in a tough spot. Like you guys say, the Warriors, they're gonna make some amount of improvements. The Suns ain't staying down here. They are going to be in the mix still. I don't think they're going to have some drastic fall off, but I mean, 2-10 on the road for a young team. It might get better to an extent, but I'm not exactly buying into it that much. And like, again, tonight they had a loss to the Hawks where they were up 20 in the third, slowly let it slip away. Like they're going to have enough of those games just by the fact that they're a young team, even though they have brought in some good vets with Brooks, with Freddie, with Jeff Green closing games. Like they do have some vets, but they're still young at a lot of their core. I mean, Alman was in closing the game tonight for large stretches. Love Aaron Holiday, but like not the greatest talent out there to have closing games either. And he's been regularly closing games. So they're going to be competitive still, but I don't see a world where they can be better than the Warriors. The Grizzlies are going to be right on their heels trying to get into that conversation too. So I think they're in a tough spot to hold that, but kudos to them and especially that defense.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, the good news is, like, there's no pressure on them because most people, probably outside of Rockets fans, probably didn't expect them to even be this good. So all the pressure's on those 2 teams that are kind of below them. Or outside of the play-in, the Warriors and Memphis, like more pressure on those guys than on the Rockets because if they just miss out on the play-in by a few games, they'll be like, you know what, that's fine. We're still building, even though we brought vets in. We're still a young team, still building this culture, building this chemistry, continuity and stuff. We'll be fine. That means next year we can make that push, be a playoff team this time around.
I just want to see Summer League Jabari come out, man. I'm ready to see the Jabari Go arc start.
I kind of like how he's been playing for real. Like they're not forcing him to take that massive jump.
Good.
I think defensively he provides some good impact there. He just kind of
hell of a rebounder. Hell of a rebounder.
I think this is the kind of player that he can maximize himself and be a star in that role. Because I don't think he's going to be, even though he's young, he could easily develop into like a all-star kind of guy. But I think if he's like one of these just really high-quality starters, I have no issue with that at all. Like none. Because I think he can be a very, very valuable piece of this team in their future, playing alongside Green, Alp. I think he's that kind of guy that you kind of need to be that guy. Like somebody has to be that guy. And I think he fits that more than anybody.
Yeah, like I think at his best, I don't want to reduce him just based off of where he's at in his career and what Aaron Gordon does, but I think he's a slightly better version of Aaron Gordon at his best if he's best used in a role. He's that third option who's a really good defensive guy, good rebounder, good connector, can get his own bucket when you need, can be good in mismatches, but ultimately is not relied on to do a ton of scoring. Now, he could probably do more than that, but in an ideal situation, that's probably his role. And like you say, that's a pretty good damn player.
I think he could be very good, like still play very efficient, still play very just winning basketball, doing like with his current skill set. I think with more touches, like he could for real be giving you a very good like 16 to 18.
For sure.
I was thinking like a modern. I like the Aaron Gordon combo, like a modern like Al Horford type, which I think is kind of like similar type of players, but like those like forward type guys that do a little bit of everything, really good defensive guys. Every team needs a glue guy, and sometimes you might spend a high lottery pick on a glue guy, but sometimes that's what they end up being. And every team needs somebody like that. It can't all be. You said it earlier, Devin. Like you can't have a bunch of 20-point scorers. Like you need some guys that can just come in and do those things that the stars don't want to do on a night-to-night basis. But this guy is going to do it every single night to the best level that we can see in the association. And he's going to make us a better team because of it.
Definitely. I like what they got in him right now. I think they're doing well, maximizing his talent. I'm going to go through two more of these in the interest of time before we get too much later. First one I'm going to roll with, who's better right now, Chet or Evan Mobley?
Chet.
We already kind of answered it. Chet's already miles a better offensive player.
Yeah.
I think defensively, the gap is probably pretty close, in my opinion. So I'm gonna go with Chet.
I think the Thunder are actually a better defense than Cleveland this season, which they were solid last year. I think they were like 13th, like up to like around 6th this year. So year-to-year improvement, like he's just come and made them much better. I was concerned coming into the season about him being like their main defensive big, and he's taken that role and he's blown it out of the water. So I guess shame on me for thinking that he'd only be good on the weak side starting line. And for as much as we like shit on like Evan Mobley, like put on the weight, need to like be able to like guard fives and all that, like Chet's able to do that already year one as another pretty slim guy. So I mean, just him having that skill set, his ability to just be a shot blocker. And then that's all, not even me talking about his offensive game where, like you said, Miles better already in terms of creating his own shot, spacing the floor, just his overall touch, like putting the ball on the ground, like very, very dynamic player. And the fact that this is his floor, Chet's a specimen, bro. He'll be an all-star by 2026. That's a guarantee.
Chet might be an all-star by next year.
Yeah, I think he'll be an all-star by 2025.
Motherfucker, put that shit in the bank. Say next year, he an all-star. Say it, man.
2025. 2025 is next year.
Yeah. You said 2026 at first. Like, man, stamp that. Give yourself an extra year to breathe. Nah, stamp that. Next year, all-star. Gabe said it.
It sounds like the whole pod said it. Chet'll be an all-star next year.
I'm there with you.
I could see it. But
I'm there.
We're just talking about that front court.
All right,
we're just talking about that front court. I don't know.
Here's what I'm gonna tell you right now. Chet will be a DPOY finalist by 2026. That's my take.
Yeah, I can get behind that. Hell, he might even be in that this year, depending on how the rest of this year goes. Next year for sure.
The Chet and Wemby DPOY race is going to be like the Embiid and Jokic MVP.
Chet, the best big in the NBA in 5 years. Woo. Let's talk about it.
Hey, well, if he's the best big in the NBA, he might be the best player in the NBA because like the best like 3 players in the world right now are all bigs.
Yeah, I mean it's a possibility. I mean, like Jokic and Giannis are probably all still good, but they're probably not in their prime.
Giannis and Embiid probably fall off a little bit more than Jokic just based off play style. And
I think Jokic can play similar to this for like another 7 years, to be honest, if he wants to.
Not that he's given any indication of it, though, but I wonder how young Jokic actually wants to play.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If he wants to, like
he might just retire at like 34 and say, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, like I won a couple championships. Like I got like 5 MVPs. Like
I'm done working my day job.
Yep. Let me go ride horses for the next 30
Imagine
years.
he gets like 5 rings, becomes like Thanos with the Infinity Stones, just retires onto a farm. Like
I don't want to play basketball no more.
He does. Hey, he just treats basketball as like a day job. So I mean,
that's what it is.
If tomorrow,
he's good at it.
Bro, if Devin woke up tomorrow and said, "Yeah, I've helped with enough highways to retire," bro, he's not going back to work no more. Tyrik says, "I've made enough social media posts. I don't need any more money to retire." Yeah. Y'all aren't going back to work either.
For real, though. For real.
Thanks. I mean, people, I don't agree with the sense that nobody likes their job. People like their jobs, but if they have that out, if they are satisfied with what they've done, they will take that out every single time, bro.
I like my job, but if I had enough money to retire, I say I could go to work or I could chill at the crib or go hang out with friends, go to the gym. What, bro?
I wouldn't blame them. It's been in 5 years. It's feasible. I'm trying to think of like who would be around at that time. Like him, Wemby would be in that mix.
Cat will still be around.
Cat will still be around.
Bam should still be around. Bam will be like
Bam will be in there.
Probably like 32, something like that.
I don't even know if he'll be that old. Maybe like 31.
I don't know if he'll be that old.
He'll
be 31. He'll be 31.
I know Bam ain't on the 25 under 25 list anymore, so
it seems like he was on that list forever. But
yeah, D Book is probably like 26 right now, bro. He's been in the league for like a decade.
Yeah, Chet will probably be like right in that mix, if not the best. In that mix.
Yeah, he'll definitely be in the mix.
The only thing that'll hold him back is that, like, assuming he's in his current situation, like, he's probably not going to be a number 1 option. But defense is such a big part of his game that he might not need to be to get that label.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. I mean, he could develop to the point even still where they could be a 1A, 1B, which would be a crazy 1A, 1B, but it is possible.
I could see that. I
think
Shea
averages like 30. Yeah, if you're a 1B to a 30-point scorer, you're pretty fucking good at basketball.
Like, I could see a world where they're both averaging like 27, 28 a night.
I'm glad Orlando hit on that first pick, at least so far. I'm glad Paolo is really good. Because that would suck if
that'd be rough.
If they did take Jabari. Now, I just gave Jabari a lot of credit, but they did take Jabari and they passed on Chet and Paolo. That would be rough.
Yeah, they're looking at their future a lot different if Franz is the 1 and Jabari's the 2 compared to Paolo being the guy and Franz being the number 2. It's a very different trajectory.
We talked about it last episode. That was a crazy voice crack. We talked about it last episode, like with like I swear it was a smoke screen, bro. Like they knew the whole time they wanted Paolo, but they're saying Jabari to see if they could trade down because they knew that Chet was the Thunder's guy. It didn't work out, so they just took their guy anyways.
Maybe.
Definitely possible, man. Definitely possible.
I'm like 65% sure that's what was going down.
Dude, in 2017, I'm telling you, bro, if Philly doesn't bite on that trade, Tatum goes number 1.
Oh, the problem, most likely, yeah.
For sure.
So I think Boston's idea was Tatum, Brown on the wing. At that time, Isaiah Thomas, but then they traded him for Kyrie. So Markelle would not have fit in probably either way.
If the Pistons took Jalen Green, they'd be 0-27.
Will the Pistons ever win again, bro?
Bro, did I say, I might have said it on the pod. I know I definitely said it at work, but I said I don't think they win a game the rest of 2023.
Yeah,
I might have said that like
pod.
I might have said that like 4 weeks ago. It still holds true. So now I just want to be right and be like, yes, they did not win a game the rest of this year. Like, I need to go find that, clip it, and post it as a short, like approaching that time.
Yeah. Tomorrow night is big. They play the Jazz at home tomorrow night. That's a big game,
bro. For them, oh my god, Devin,
Spurs.
For them to break the record, it's a game against the Raptors.
I am painfully aware, and I know we're gonna lose that game.
Lane Casey's not there no more.
I'm afraid that playing the Raptors is still forever the Pistons Super Bowl.
We don't play them until like March, so if they're still winless until that point, God.
The
You guys
Celtics?
play them on
You
the
play them in a
28th
week.
of September.
Oh, we don't play them in Detroit until that far. Yeah. Okay.
No, you guys play them right before we do.
If you guys beat them, well, assuming they still are winless, if you guys beat them, that ties the record for the longest all time.
We got to do it for the culture now.
They might mess around and win one of those Brooklyn games, bro. I don't know.
You would think
They could. Brooklyn haven't been amazing as of late. They've been
up and
fine,
down.
but it's
I
possible.
think Utah beat them. Yep, Utah beat them recently.
Yeah, to tie the single game record, they just need to lose that first Brooklyn game, which is at Brooklyn. God, man. I really didn't expect to see an NBA record broken like this season. I don't know.
Not this early, at least. God, Braun can hit 40,000 points, I think, this season, but that's later, man.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is wicked. Like, I mean, even I
maybe
was more optimistic since last year. I know you guys were even more optimistic, but like in theory, this team should be better than last year's team.
Bro, and we weren't even asking them.
Not even close.
We weren't even asking them to be fucking elite. We're just like, can they just take steps? Can they look watchable? And no, they look more unwatchable than last year, which. We've harped on the Pistons too enough. Like we get it. They're bad.
We put a reverse Kings, bro. We used to hate the Kings. We used to hate the Blazers too. I feel like, yeah, we definitely hated the Blazers until recently.
We did,
bro. Yeah, it's bad. Well, I was about to say something. Oh yeah, KD hit top 10 all-time scoring recently. I feel like it didn't get talked about at all. Like,
no, it didn't.
I saw the Suns posted it, and that was really it. Like, that's a big time accomplishment. James Harden hit 25K. Like, those are like big time accomplishments. Like, that's a lot of points in the league, man.
Top 10, yeah.
Impressive.
Especially with more modern guys keeping up there.
I think KD can maybe move up a spot more this year. I think. Because that range from like 10 to like 12.
Yeah, he's a bit over 600 behind Carmelo. And he's about 1,000 behind Shaq. And then there's a gap for Wilt.
That range of like Shaq, Melo, like Elvin Hayes, like that. Those three guys, I feel like everybody passes. Like,
I feel like KG's not far behind them. I think Tim Duncan's in that range. Akeem's not far behind that.
I know, like
top 15 like a few years ago.
The 30K. Then you start getting to like Dirk. And then, like,
Dirk, MJ, Kobe.
I feel like Braun passed all of them kind of like it seemed fast.
Yeah, Wilt to Kobe is relatively close. Then you got a bit over 3K to the guy I won't give a shout out to, but
like that guy.
Yeah, DeMar should move up quite a few more spots as well too this year.
Josh Giddey,
he should get top 30 this year.
Is DeMar at 20K?
Yeah, he's at 22 right now.
Damn, man, shout out DeMar DeRozan, bro.
No, he should get top 30 this year. Parrish is at 30 at 23.3. DeMar's at 22.3. So
DeMar's been a bucket for the past like 10 years.
That's dope because guys like Chris Webber's not in the 20K club. Chris Webber's damn good. There's some guys that you would think would be 20K that are not in that club.
LaMarcus Aldridge was in that club, right?
Yeah, he's 20K, just barely. He's 20.5.
I feel like when he came back, like after that Nets run, like he had the heart thing, and then he came back and he's like, "Oh, 20K career points."
Like, let me hit this 20K real quick, maybe get a ring.
Bro,
shout out to LaMarcus, man. He's gonna be forgotten. I already know he is, but
He is, sadly. But great
Portland,
hooper.
man, the last couple years in Portland, that boy was always MVP candidate the first 2 weeks of the season, every year.
Every year. He's a hooper, man. He's a hooper.
He'll come out and start shooting some threes and be like, so Marcus going to take a step back this season? Then he'll just, I'm going to get back in the mid-post.
Dame's
Hey,
just
De'Aaron-
recently
De'Aaron
hit
Fox said
20K
it,
too.
bro.
I don't know if I saw much about that either.
Did not. Shout out
Yeah.
to him.
Yeah, he's at
D-Fox said that people hate
20,034.
20K's a lot, bro. Like, takes guys some time to get. Like, you got to stay healthy.
Yeah, he's only got
That's
794 games, which is by far the lowest total of anyone at 20K. Gervin's at 791, but he's the only other guy sub 800. Or actually, that's not true. Bob Pettit's at 792.
That's 10 good years of ball. Like 2,000-point seasons. Like that's
Really
that's
good
real.
years. Really good years of basketball. That's an accomplishment. I wonder how far KD can get up there because even though he misses time, I feel like he can still play for like some time. The way that he plays, I feel like he probably got like 4 to 5 good years of ball maybe left in him.
Mhm. Yeah, KD is like a different type of like you talk about eventually like your body starts failing you, and that's when players regress. But like KD's game is so smooth that I don't feel like his body failing on him is more just like eventually he just will probably end up missing so much time that he'll just have to give it up.
Yeah. Facts. Because it's like every time he comes back from injuries, like sprained MCLs and big injury, like the Achilles.
Torn Achilles. Like Kobe tore his Achilles was never the same. KD came back and still averages 30.
Bro, like
It's crazy.
Like he's had some of his best scoring and efficiency seasons post Achilles injury, which is like
that Brooklyn series. That Brooklyn series against Milwaukee is some of the best basketball I've ever seen played. That was KD.
You're like, this is over. KD can't carry. Well, he had a 50-point triple-double the next game just to say he could do it.
KD can't pass since when?
Bet. Here's 12 assists for y'all. Danilo Gallinari. This man is the biggest
Oh my
I know, bro.
The Rooster.
I'm tired of hearing about the Rooster, bro. Get this
I love Gallo too. It's interesting because Gabe, you were talking earlier about the Nuggets trading Melo to the Knicks, maybe prematurely. Danilo was a part of that trade. He might have been able to be on that team.
Hey, bro. Wilson Chandler, his career trajectory was all fucked up because of that.
That's my guy, man. Wilson Chandler in 2K13, bro. Smoothest jump shot ever.
Great jumper.
I used to drop people off with Wilson Chandler in that Nuggets team. I swear to God, that was my guy.
I loved those Nuggets teams, man. Those were some fun teams.
That 13 team, I forget who was talking. I think it might have been Iggy, but he was saying like, it's like, man, if Danilo didn't get hurt that season, like we might have been able to make a little run. And I'm not opposed to that because Golden State beat them in 6, but they had home court in that series.
Yeah,
they won like 54 games, I think, or 58. They won a lot of games that year.
Something like that. Yeah, it was a lot of games. That was a good team that year.
Gallo did more for the Nuggets than Melo did for the Knicks. I don't know about that. Melo didn't do a lot in New York, but them winning a playoff series and being like the second best team in the East that one year, I think was like a lot for a team.
Would
that
have
had
won the 2013 championship, bro. Stop. They were not beating the Spurs or the Heat.
Oh, bro, the Spurs would have probably smacked them just like they smacked the Grizzlies.
Yeah,
just like they smacked the Grizzlies.
Give me Spurs in 4, bro. That's one of the best offenses of all time.
Who were even the fucking bigs on that Nuggets team? Was that?
that was Kenneth Fareed. That was JaVale
The
McGee.
animal.
And
Tim
I think
Duncan
Kufos
versus-
was starting. JaVale was coming off the bench.
Bro.
You said who was starting?
Kufos.
Costa Kufos.
Costa Kufos matched up on Tim Duncan? Bro, you're talking about prime defensive Kawhi Leonard guarding Gallo.
Bro, the regular season home. that doesn't matter much with the Spurs, bro. It doesn't.
Nah, I really don't. Not at that point in time.
I remember the Hawks in 2010. They swept the Celtics in the regular season. And they get to the playoffs, and they got swept by the fucking Magic that Boston was up 3-0 on. Like, that doesn't mean much.
First one to eat drunk and all. Yeah, I don't know about all that.
He smacked the defensive player of the year and Zebo in the same series. Like that would have got nasty. Like that would have been really. And George Karl's the head coach. Like, come on, bro. George Karl's the head coach.
That's nasty, and I do not love it.
Definitely do not love it. Fun team, but they would have got smacked by the Spurs.
Really fun team.
But I love watching that.
What is even a good comparison, bro? Like, there's like I don't like
that
this year's
like,
Knicks. No, they're
like saying I don't know
the current Orlando, maybe
like, Sacramento, maybe. I feel like those teams kind of favor a little bit.
I don't know. That was an interesting group.
2 years earlier, and then Tim Duncan smacked them when it really mattered. Conference finals, chance to go to the NBA finals. I love Zebo though. Zebo is one of my guys. I love.
Definitely, big Zebo guy.
And he did give Tim Duncan hell in 2011. He did give him hell in that series. It gave Tim Duncan and them the motivation, to come back in 2014 and really assert their dominance and get that ring.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm afraid of the Heat Spurs rivalry. The Spurs won that rivalry.
They both got a championship out of it.
Yeah, I don't know. They both did their thing.
I wish we could have got one more year, maybe, because San Antonio was still really good those following couple seasons.
They were.
I don't think Miami would have been as good, though. I'm not gonna lie.
I think they would have. D-Wade and well, it's hard to say because Bosch had the blood clots, which is like can't control that, right? But
Bosch played till like 2016, though.
Yeah, but he missed most of 15 because of blood clots. Like he had it that year, came back, was fully healthy, and then it happened again. So that's when he retired. When he was playing like some of his best basketball he's ever played.
Yeah, D-Wade in 2016 was hooping, and then he went to Chicago, and it ruined everything.
Bro, I remember that game in Charlotte. That was dope. The fact that series went to fucking 7 is crazy, bro. Motherfuckers was getting outplayed by Corny Lee. Love Corny Lee.
I had so much stock in the 2016-17 Knicks, bro. You're telling me the lineup of D Rose, Courtney Lee, Melo, Porzingis, and Joakim Noah?
Great 2K team.
That shit was supposed to be nice, bro.
Great 2K team. Terrible real life team.
They should.
I remember people were saying like D Rose averaged 18 and the triangle offense is the third option.
D Rose running the fucking shot.
Jennings was the 6th. Yeah, that's a crazy team. Now D Rose was solid. He was solid that year.
The all Garrett team, bro. Brandon Jennings, D Rose, Gallo. Larry Johnson's getting a spot on there. I've seen too many Garrett clips talking about Larry.
All they're missing was Gallo. They should have just pulled Donovan Mitchell up from Louisville. But throw Jeff Teague on the team just to piss them off.
Donovan Mitchell and Kawhi are on the all Garrett team as well.
Every time, look, I don't have to pay attention to Clippers basketball because I know Garrett's going to inform me about how good Kawhi is.
That's true. That's true.
Very true.
Yeah, Phil was like a bottom tier executive, bro. He stunk.
Yeah, he was not good as an exec.
He said, "Hey, Hornacek, you're running my system." Man that won 48 games with fucking Eric Bledsoe and Goran Dragic. as his best players. Like, you're running my system. You're in the triangle, buddy.
Get ready to learn the triangle, buddy.
Yeah, that Knicks team should have been decent, but they stunk. They were bad. And Melo was falling off at that time too, which kind of sucked.
Yeah, that sums it up. That sums it up.
Nicknamed horny. I'm
that
finished, bro.
That Knicks team was one of the many casualties of that offseason, that's for sure.
That is one of the worst executives.
Yeah.
Is there worse executives than Knicks Phil Jackson? I don't know if there's any current executives that are like that.
I was gonna say
There's some pretty bad ones.
Billy King for the Nets. He's up there. He's the one that traded all those picks.
Yeah, he's definitely up there.
Current ones that
who is the worst executive in the league right now? I don't even know for real. Probably
the Rockets guy kind of, I guess, is redeeming himself a little bit.
Yeah. The worst run team right now is probably the Bulls.
I think, yeah. I think is Act the worst?
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's weird to call Act the worst, but they're probably the worst run team in the league.
Troy Weaver, he's definitely getting there.
I don't know who's.
I don't know how much blame I can put on him. Like, because
I'm sorry.
Like, it's not great, but I'm way more concerned about the on-court quality and the coaching than I am the front office work there. Like,
I'm more concerned about
the pieces don't always fit well during a rebuild. I'm more concerned about the talent that's being acquired, and the talent acquisition's been fine. Like, Cade's been good. Duran's a good pick. Stewart's been good. Bay was good before they traded him. That trade is a bit suspect, but outside of that, like, Ivy has looked good. Again, that's on-court management. Like, I'm not too harsh on the front office right now.
Might be throwing some questions at Cleveland and at Memphis too pretty soon. We'll see. I don't think it's as bad as like Chicago or Atlanta or any of them, but
I think Kobe Altman's actually done a good job in Cleveland. I really do. He took over LeBron's last year, gutted the roster, and then within a couple of years, they were competitive again. But then they also hired Beeline, who they fired mid-season, are still paying him. That's interesting. I still don't know who the fuck is calling shots in Atlanta. I still do not know.
Who hired Jim Boylan? Was that Ack or was that Garpax?
That was Garpax.
Okay.
I don't know if he's the main guy, but I think Landry Fields is in the Hawks front office. I don't know if he's the main guy, but
he's listed as their executive on Basketball Reference.
He is, okay. Yeah, I know he got promoted a couple of years ago, but
Masai about to catch some allegations from me. If
I was about to say Masai low-key might be up there.
Devin, you put it on the agenda. We didn't talk about it, but I haven't got my Raptors rant on this episode.
You ain't had Raptors. I think the closest thing was like when I brought up Scotty's like few bad weeks. He was like, "Fucking Pascal."
I have nothing new to say. I don't have anything new to say. Trade Pascal. That's all I gotta say. I don't care what happened. OG can stay. He can go. I don't care.
I was gonna say trade OG and Pascal or just Pascal.
I'm on the fence about OG because I think he can fit and let Scotty can flourish with OG there, but Scotty can flourish without OG there. Scotty can only flourish if Pascal's gone.
I can see OG leaving and getting vastly overpaid. I can see that happening.
Yeah, he's gonna get a fucking bag to every other game drop 5 points on 4 shot attempts. Like,
I think OG's good. I don't know. I feel like they're kind of overvaluing him. Like, and he's gonna get overvalued on the market too.
Dude, we've been having this conversation about his yes, Masai overvalues everybody because he only trades with the Spurs. Like he's like Masai says, yeah, I'm gonna call around and shop some of my players.
You said that earlier. I didn't.
He
like,
calls,
put
he
pieces
calls
together.
RC Buford, and if RC Buford is like, nah, he puts down the phone and it's done.
He's like, okay. Oh, Fred, you're leaving? Okay, bye.
RC didn't pick up, bro. I can't do anything.
I don't know that he made a trade with a single Eastern Conference team since he's tenured.
What?
Because we've traded with the Grizzlies to get Gasol. We've traded with the Spurs on multiple occasions. We traded with the Kings and the Jazz to dump guys when we were looking to trade Lowry the other year. I don't know that we've traded with the Blazers.
Okay.
I don't know that we've traded with a singular Eastern Conference team since he took over.
Was Lowry was a sign-in trade with Precious? That's the clue.
Yeah, so I mean, you can somewhat count the Miami one with Lowry. Yeah,
That don't really count.
but I might be missing one, but I don't recall anything.
Damn, nothing significant at least at all.
No, definitely nothing significant.
Unless fucking DeMar Carroll was a trade. No, he was a signing. Yeah.
Yeah, and we traded him to Brooklyn. To be fair, that would have been under his tenure.
Allen Anderson was he a traded piece?
Anderson, I don't know if that was in the Ujiri days. That might have been the Colangelo days. God, I don't miss him. He was a terrible GM.
How do y'all fucking remember DeMar Carroll to the Nets? Like Garrett's in chat saying, like, how the fuck do you remember that?
Those were sad days, man. That was supposed to be our best free agency signing ever, and he was fucking terrible. And we had to give up a first round pick just to get him. T. Ross for Ibaka. I knew I was forgetting one.
That's a good shout.
Yeah, that would be our one move.
So when it does happen, it helps win. Or
Hey, bro, you can't make me think about Ibaka on the Raptors. not this late into a pod, bro.
I'm not going to do that. Serge is playing in I think Germany now. Shout out to him.
For real?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think ESPN posted it just a slideshow of all the players that are overseas right now, and he was one of them.
PRC legend.
He was one of them.
I fear, for as good as he was with the Raptors, Ibaka will still be remembered as an OKC Thunder.
Ibaka.
Acquire Norm from Milwaukee on draft night. That sounds right. Yeah. But that wasn't quite any jury's tenure yet, I don't think. I think that was still Colangelo.
When did
I think. I could be wrong though. I could be wrong. I don't remember how long Colangelo was there for now. Well, actually, that should be jury, I think.
Real talk, I still, to the life of me, being a Raptors fan for this long, could not tell you what Bobby Webster does. I couldn't tell you what Bobby Webster even does.
Who's Bobby Webster? I don't even know that.
That's our GM. That's our GM. What does he do? I've never understood teams who have a president of basketball operations. What does the GM even do?
I don't get the difference either. I'm just like, whoever makes the calls, whoever makes the moves, I just consider them the GM. Like, they make all the fucking moves.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Brad's the president of basketball ops, and he makes all the calls. He's the GM to me.
Bobby Webster, he's just a jag, man. He's just a guy. He's a jag.
You're like the second person I've heard say that today, and it's funny every time. Real jag.
The first time I ever heard that was Steve Smith talking about Jerry Jeudy, bro.
He went off. He was like, he's just a jag. Just another guy.
Oh, man.
Norman.
Norm Powell's been cooking this year too. We talked about it earlier. He's been cooking.
He has been, man.
Dark Horse 6 man. Maybe.
Dark Horse for sure. I mean, ultimately, the only thing that matters is who has the most points at the end of the year. So I will give up on predicting 6 man until we're at least 60 games in.
Who was my pick?
Real talk.
He's in the
Anything
mix.
is possible in sports, bro. Belichick is leaving the Patriots.
Was that confirmed? I saw like the score posted it, but that's the only place I saw like that.
Yeah, I
Actually,
mean, it's not confirmed per se, but probably.
Belichick is a Bengal, bro. Stop
I
playing
wonder-
with me.
bro, Zach Taylor's been cooking, man. Leave that guy's keeping his job, bro.
Yeah, he ain't going nowhere.
Zachy T been cooking. I think Bill, if he decides to keep coaching, like I just feel like the Chargers is like the spot for him.
Him and Herbert would be very fun.
Would it? Do we want Herbert to throw checkdowns?
I want Herbert to have a defense.
He's throwing checkdowns this year. What the fuck do you mean? Have you seen the games Keenan Allen be having? He having like 20 catches for like 140 yards.
I'm painfully aware as I have
Hey,
in
I'm
fantasy.
tired of people saying that Brock Purdy is carried by yak when Mahomes has the most yak in the league.
People just like it's hard for people to accept like good quarterbacks, bro. Like Brock Purdy's he's good. He's a good quarterback.
People didn't accept like Lamar as a good quarterback forever. They still don't know if Daniel Jones is good or not. Baker's low key good this year, even.
And people won't
Definitely.
accept that.
I feel like people don't even think Jared Goff is good still.
Man, he's been good.
Yeah, he gets that like middle of the pack quarterback type of rank.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know.
just tough.
But
It's tough. It's like
You better
I feel
start
like
pushing more agendas, bro. You have the power to push the agendas.
I mean,
We need more golf propaganda on the timeline.
we post a lot of golf stuff.
Let's go. All right.
Go vote for him in the Pro Bowl.
All right. I will.
Go retweet all of the tweets that have Jared Goff's name attached and hashtag Pro Bowl vote. Go retweet all of them. Go retweet all.
All right, bet.
I feel like there's a lot of QBs like that though, because it's like it's a lot of guys who get called mid or not great, but it's like you're saying that a lot of guys that are like 12 to 15 to 18 range get called that, and then there's like 10 starters in the league that guys just don't think are good at all that aren't great, and it's like so these guys that you say are mid aren't really that bad.
Bro, I know what bad quarterback play looks like, and Brock Purdy is really good
Very good.
compared to what I've seen. Like Brock Purdy's really good. Just because he doesn't throw off-platform sidearms and scramble around for 35 seconds to create a play does not mean the guy is not a good quarterback.
For real.
Now, MVP is a different conversation, but NFL MVP is just the weirdest thing in sports to me because it's basically who's the best quarterback and not who's the best player.
Yeah, it is a very weird award in that sense.
I'm afraid that Twitter is broken right now, so I cannot do what you're asking to.
It's okay. Whenever we post the next Jared Goff propaganda, I will be sending it to you.
Okay.
Since you said I need to push these narratives more, so
You need it, bro. The streets needed it.
get him to the Pro Bowl. He had a great game last week. He played really good.
Josh Fallen and the Bills ain't making the playoffs. Who does that guy even like? The Bears?
He is indeed a Bears fan.
Oh
I need to
my
know how
God.
Garrett feels about Justin Fields and should they draft a quarterback? Because I'm in the camp where I don't think they should, but
They need
Yeah.
to take Marvin, bro.
take Marv and then take the best offensive lineman
Yeah,
that you can get
agreed.
in the building. Because that boy Montez Sweat, he low-key an issue, man. I didn't know he was this good for real. But he's been
He was cooking this year.
I saw a stat. He leads the Commanders and the Bears in sacks.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
great.
Commanders have been absolutely dreadful since the trade deadline. But
Hey, one of my top takeaways from this NFL season is I'm trying to watch the Colts next year.
The Colts.
Yeah, bro. Anthony Richardson was cooking, and then he went
yeah,
down.
It's crazy because they're still really good. Like they're still pretty good.
yeah, Minshew's been solid.
Bro, the Bengals are good with fucking Jake Browning coming out the woodwork, bro. Like,
Bro, one of my homies, he's Justin Fields' ass. Okay, interesting. One of my homies, he's a Bengals fan, and a couple of my homies are, and I was telling them, I'm like, I think Jake Brown's gonna be decent, but I feel like they thought I was trolling, bro. I was being like, for real, I watched him at Washington. I'm like, bro, he was good. Lo and behold, he hasn't been like wicked, but he's been solid. Like, he making plays, winning games.
I mean, it definitely helps that he has one of the best receiving cores in the league. But
true, but I mean,
and a good running back. Mixon's been cooking.
Whoever's been like in Minnesota, they've had Jefferson and Addison for the last few weeks, and they ain't been lighting the world up.
Definitely not.
I don't even know who's starting him. Oh, it was fucking Nick Mullins.
It's Nick Mullins this week, yeah.
They started like 3 quarterbacks in like the last 3 weeks.
Hey,
yeah,
bro.
they went dog.
Respect Nick Mullins, bro.
Off.
Who's the other guy? Was it Hall?
Yeah, they had Hall come in that initial game that Kirk got injured because he was the guy they addressed. But then they traded for Dobbs and went to him until he had a couple of rough games. And then Mullins was back from injury, so they went to Mullins.
The Josh Dobbs Cardinals era will be known in legend.
Definition of insanity, bro.
100%. 100%.
He really thought he was about to be the next Geno Smith, and he was not.
Is Geno Smith the next Geno Smith? Drew Lock might be that guy now.
Nah, the next Geno Smith is low-key Russell Wilson, bro. He came out the woodwork. They wrote him off.
Yeah, he was bad last week, but he's been playing solid. Not turning the ball over as much.
The Broncos not being ass is all I need to know.
500 football team, they're in the mix. The AFC wildcard picture, that is gross, man. Like,
crazy.
I hate to be a fan of a team over there. Ain't that right, Gabe?
I don't even know who's coming out of that conference, bro. Like, talking about, like...
I don't know either, man. I feel like
the best team in the
team, but I don't know.
Dude, because the Dolphins can't beat anybody good.
So I mean, they play us this week, and the Cowboys, and we can't beat anyone good outside of the Eagles once a year either. So,
but like, Baltimore is for real proudly I hate to say it because they're in our division, but it just means everybody's like low key beatable.
A lot of parity over there for sure. Like Kansas City, kind of, yeah.
Bro, fucking with any team with Kadarius Toney always has a chance to lose.
I forgot he was a first-round pick. Like, oof.
Oh, didn't the Giants draft him?
Yeah.
Yep. And he played probably like 7 games.
NFC East first-round receivers, man. What can I say?
They all kind of are
Don't
bad.
disrespect my boy CD like that.
And Devontae. Devontae's really pretty good. So.
Yeah. He is.
He should be good. He won the Heisman. Jalen Waddle's still better, though.
Jalen Waddle is they're probably like the same tier receiver, to be honest. They're both good number 2s. Really good number 2s.
Tyrik kills the MVP, though. This is a basketball podcast.
I wish he wasn't hurt, man, because he should win it. Him or McCaffrey, that would be my MVP pick, but
agreed.
I'm just a guy, man. I'm just a guy.
He's a jack.
Jack. Dolphins are just wait. The Dolphins are gonna show up big time.
Bro, Bill Belichick is fucking somebody up at the end of the year. I don't know who the Patriots got left, but I think they already
played the Dolphins twice, so they probably played the Jets.
He's probably looking forward to his next job, so he's probably gonna have some like coaching masterclass clinic like right before he walks out the door.
Yeah, they play the Broncos, the Bills, and the Jets.
They were just in the game with the
they're beating the Bills.
They beat the Bills. They were in the game. Yeah, Bill, man, Bills a guy.
My Bengals are gonna go like 9-10. Like they're probably gonna go like 9-8 and be like 0-6 division. Like I'm just fully expecting for us to be like literally like 9-2 outside of the division and just lose every division game.
Who have y'all lost to outside the division?
Yeah, exactly. We lost a really close game to the Texans. We lost a bad one to the Titans. That was a bad loss.
That was when Joe was kind of stinking it up, though.
Yeah, that was when Joe was like kind of injured. The Houston game was a CJ Stroud masterclass.
Tyler Boyd fucked up that game. Didn't he drop like the game-winning touchdown?
Yeah, he did.
Tough one. I picked him up in fantasy that week, though, and he did my team well. Like he did his job. Even though he dropped that. They're gonna catch it, bro.
But hey, the Bengals they beat the Jaguars and the Colts back-to-back weeks, man. I can't really complain too much about that.
Definitely not.
Yeah. NFL season be flying by. I feel like the NBA kind of does too, but NFL is like it's going by quick.
Yeah, no, it definitely has. Like a few weeks away from the playoffs now. Got a fantasy matchup with Reek this week.
God, I ain't set my lineup.
Times.
I gotta watch Derek Carr tomorrow. Either make our season or break our season.
I have a spoiler alert for you.
He played really good last week. I'll give him his credit there. He played really good last week. But at LA, they're fighting for their lives too. That's gonna be a game.
What's your spoiler alert, Gabe?
Oh, he's just gonna say Derek Carr's going.
Derek Carr's gonna break the season.
Say he's gonna be bad.
Well,
just needed it on record is all.
Their Rams defense ain't that good though. Dolphins, look, Garrett, I would love that. I would love to like be at a Super Bowl. So I'm rooting for that now. Dolphins Lions, even though probably not Dolphins Lions like that.
No, that'd be sick.
But San Francisco just looks like too much right now, bro.
They're gonna be very tough to beat. They look way less beatable than my boys and the Eagles do. That's for sure.
I'm still kind of like buying somewhat in on the Cowboys, which I probably shouldn't. But
bro said he's gonna. That's crazy.
It's never good when you buy in on the Cowboys. I don't even buy in on the Cowboys.
I'm
I'm a
buying in,
Cowboys fan.
I wouldn't want to see them in the playoffs if I was like my team was matching up. I wouldn't want to see them.
The only benefit is we'll play a shitty team in the first round because we'll probably be the best wild card team. So then we'll go smack on the Buccaneers or the Falcons or someone, and then we'll have to go play the 76ers or not 76ers, 49ers. And that'll just not be pretty.
In my other league, I might be able to win the consolation bracket, man.
Yeah,
I won my first round of the consolation bracket. Now
I'm going all out on that bracket because our bottom 4 teams are already locked in for the draft. So I'm just like I'm gonna just put my best team out here.
Yeah, I'm trying to win the consolation in my other one too.
I tanked the last week of the season because if I won, I would have been the 4th pick. But if I lost, I get the 2nd pick. So I bench everybody.
Yeah, put that view.
All I'll say is the worst team in my other league is the guy that decided to take the plunge and draft Jonathan Taylor. That's all I'm gonna say.
He was good for those weeks he was playing until he got hurt.
Yeah, I think the guy in our league in my league who took Jonathan Taylor had the best record in the regular season. So
the guy that had the best record in my main league lost in the first round of the playoffs. He was 11-2, lost first round.
Brutal.
The guy I traded Jonathan Taylor to is in the Super Bowl. I gave him Jonathan Taylor. I gave him Sam Laporta.
Oh, brutal. Now Laporta was going crazy for me last week in my other league. It was big.
I was scared Laporta, like his production was gonna like steady out, but I feel like he's gotten better. Which sucks. And Mark Andrews got hurt.
Yeah.
Like 2 weeks into me having him hurt. Like, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Yeah, I think I traded for Laporta in like week 6 or week 7. I traded away TJ and got a Laporta trade lined up at the same time. And I traded, whatever week it was that Kyron Williams was questionable before he got put on IR. Because I traded Kyron Williams while he was still questionable. And then like the day later he got put on IR. So it was perfect because I never would have got Kyron Williams for for the Porta straight up otherwise. But
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah. I'm trying to think. Well, Porta for TJ that's funny because that happened in real life. Yeah, I think I brought it up, but the fact that I traded Mike Evans and David Montgomery for Devontae Adams is like my biggest fantasy regret ever. I can't believe I did that shit.
yeah, that was definitely tough. It's nice last week, but a lot of rough weeks this year.
I hope the 49ers flame out so the Lions won't have to see them. Yeah, I think at the current rate, they probably wouldn't play until the NFC Championship.
Yeah, currently they wouldn't. Or
If like
yeah,
yeah,
because you'd have to beat us with the Eagles. Currently, it'd be the Cowboys, but
Dang, the Lions are a 10-win team. What do the Lions have to do to secure the division? Just win this week?
yeah, win this week is basically the easiest scenario.
Oh, you guys play the Vikings twice, so y'all just need to beat the Vikings once.
Yeah, we win this week. That's the division on lock. Play like technically we haven't even secured a playoff spot because the Seahawks won
yeah.
Monday night. Seahawks, they got the tiebreaker over us.
It's crazy how many teams are just like decent.
There's so many mid teams in the NFC.
Like the Buccaneers, Saints,
every-
Vikings, Rams. That's crazy.
Seahawks are 7-7.
And then you got like the Packers and Falcons are like right there. Desmond Ritter is just ass enough to keep them like solid, but not good.
He ain't starting anymore either. They're going to Heineke.
I don't know why they went off of Heineke in the first place. Like,
Bro, because Desmond Ritter is the GOAT, man. Come on, stop.
no comment.
That's Cincinnati legend right there. Bet you didn't know what school he went to.
Of course I did.
That's right. Best school in the second best school in the world behind this baby right here because they gave me this bad boy right here.
Is Cincinnati the second best school in all that? Yeah, I guess. Toledo won 11 games this year, though. Maybe Toledo's second best school in Ohio.
Brother is talking about Maction right now. It's crazy.
Action, baby. Mac need love, too.
Well, in the interest of time, I might think about wrapping this up.
Yeah, shout out to that.
Yeah, but we do love a good hour after show in late December. Yeah, we do be getting into that time of year in the middle of the NBA season, so probably a few after shows until we get into some all-star predictions in a few weeks' time. But for everyone who has tuned into the after show, we definitely appreciate it. We always love the support wrapped up like a Christmas gift. Hey, we'll take it, man. It's always good to have the chat support in here. And
got Boxing Day coming up, man.
We do, man. We do.
Boxing Day. I didn't know like that was like a big Canadian holiday. Like in England, I know we celebrate over there, but I didn't know Canada did too.
Yeah. Hey, extra day off work, extra day at home with the family. It's always good, so we will take it. That being said, for anyone who has tuned in still, we do appreciate it. Be sure to hit that like button if you haven't yet, and be sure to subscribe. This will be our last stream until the holiday season with Christmas and Boxing Day, so be sure we hope that you guys do have the best of time and do have a good holiday season. We will be back afterwards to continue our basketball conversations and all of our loveliness that is our after shows. But until then, hope you guys have a good week, and we will see you guys in the next one. Peace.